getting 2 knees. He thinks he wants to start running again, so he's down at the Mayo Clinic. He's going to be gone for about 2 or 3 weeks. But anyway, the first thing on the agenda is going to be the minutes. Commissioner Candelaria, have you had the opportunity to look at the minutes?
Yes, I have, and I move that we accept the proceedings of the Board of Commissioners, Montezuma County for August 25th, 2020.
Second, there's been a motion and a second to approve the proceedings of the Montezuma County Board of Commissioners for August 25th, 2020. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we have the county administrator's report with the Love Shack, Shack Powers.
Yeah, the Love Shack. Okay, good morning, commissioners. The first thing we need is, from last week, I presented the payables for the month of July. You had questions about charge going to the church over here, and what that was pass-through money that comes from the WIC program to help the kitchens to buy from local farmers. And so all that is passed through from the WIC program to make sure that they're buying from local farmers.
There was actually 2 of them. One was the Rock.
And the Rock was another food program the same way in Dove Creek
Okay.
through our health department.
Well, I'm glad that Keenan is not here today.
Oh, yeah.
So this is for the month of
July.
July. So I would move that we accept the payables for the month of July in the amount of $7,721,428.86.
Second, there's a motion and a second to approve the financials for Montezuma County for the month of July in the amount of $7,721,428.86. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The second thing I have for the commissioners, the True Western Rodeo is going to be putting on a rodeo at the fairgrounds. I believe it's going to be October 3rd. They need an approval to start the liquor license process from the commissioners. The state requires it 30 days out, which we can meet, but the county requires it 90 days out. So I need the commissioners to make a vote to waive that, because there's clearly not 90 days. And that's just a county rule, which John can speak to.
If you all want to waive that, we made that rule. I don't recall who the 3 commissioners were at the time. Certainly Commissioner Supla and Commissioner Ortel. I can't remember whether it was with Commissioner Lambert. The state requires 30-day lead time to apply for an alcohol liquor license. We made it 90. I'm not sure why we did that, but we did. If you all want to waive that for this particular circumstance, you certainly can.
Well, I would say this. Why would we be more stricter than the state?
I guess that was going to be my question, because obviously I wasn't here, but
If you
why
can-
did you make it 90 days? Why?
I have no idea.
Yeah, John, why did you do that?
No, it definitely was not me. I take no responsibility for it. But let's get rid of the rule. You got 2 of you. We can get rid of that. We can.
I think if we're compliant with the state and stay within the 30-day requirement, we don't need to be any more stringent than the state.
Well, we previously frowned upon any alcohol at the fairgrounds, and I think that was like our compromise. Likely was maybe it was at the suggestion of the fairgrounds manager that instead of not allowing it at all, let's make them give us more time to consider it, or something to that effect.
So, Justin, what is your recommendation?
I'm okay with it for this particular event, as long as we're not doing youth events or things that kids are sponsors. I don't have an issue with that.
I'm talking about specifically the days.
The days,
Yeah, I'm not.
yeah, I'm with the state as well. As long as we're meeting the state guidelines, I'd be okay with that.
Let's get rid of it.
Well, I think we should get rid of it. I think what makes Montezuma County unique is that we try to be less stringent than the state.
So, so we have 90 days, so we can reduce it to the 30 days, and then they're good to go.
Right, exactly.
If we can't get something done in 30 days, we shouldn't be sitting up here in the first place.
So I would say we can get rid of the rule and make it to whatever the state requirement is, and we're good to go.
Okay, let's do a motion and get rid of it. I agree with you all. Well, I don't know if that's gonna, I mean, that just explains our requirements that I think
So
perhaps
then
Administrator Bruner wrote up.
I would move that for a special event liquor license, we only require 30 days to be consistent with the state and eliminate the 90-day requirement of the county.
Or we could just get rid of our rule. It's still a 30-day requirement with the state. If we just get rid of our requirements altogether,
Okay.
it's still a 30-day requirement.
There's been a second, there's a motion and a second to get rid of the Montezuma County's rule of 90 days for the liquor license special permit process at the Montezuma County Fairgrounds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now I need a second vote to allow True Western to proceed seeking a liquor license. Otherwise, they're not going to meet the 30-day requirement either. We wait till next week.
October 3rd, didn't
Well,
we?
hold on.
If you do it today, if you wait
So
till
basically,
next
part
Tuesday,
of the
won't.
procedure that we are required to send to the state for one of these liquor licenses, something from you guys that have approved the liquor license on the county grounds. And
Within
in the
30
past, I
days.
think we've used the minutes, or they've used the letter of support. So I just want to clarify that. That's why he
So
needs
if
you
you
guys to
make a
vote
motion-
on this particular event.
So is this just for a beer garden? What is their proposal?
Yeah, so they're wanting to just put in kind of a little beer garden or spot
So-
that they can sell alcohol.
So just like we do at the fair, the
Just
same,
like you Mountain Rodeo does.
the same type of situation?
Maybe repeat what he said, since nobody on TV land can hear him. Maybe just repeat what he said.
Okay, so basically, Justin, and basically repeating it for everybody on YouTube, then this would be consistent with what we're doing for the Ute Mountain Roundup Rodeo, a beer garden for them at the True West Rodeo on October 3rd.
Right.
Okay. So then I would move that we accept their
True West.
application or
Alcohol on the
their
premises for
alcohol
the
on
True
the premises
Western.
of the fairgrounds for the True West Rodeo, October 3rd.
Second, motion second to approve the approval of a special liquor license permit for True West Rodeo for October 3rd's event at the fairgrounds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Powers? Do you have anything else?
That concludes my report at this point.
It's
He was
amazing.
gone all last week.
Oh, that's why. Otherwise, we've still been sitting here. Okay, we got the planning, public. So this is kind of confusing. Do we have public comment first before planning, or how did?
It's afterwards.
Maybe that's
Or
up to you,
planning.
Commissioner.
Oh, public comment should be afterwards. I don't-
Okay, all right.
yeah.
All right, we have Don Haley, our planning director, and Jane, the assistant director of the planning department. And first thing we have is, we're gonna be talking about a variance. So Don, can
I
you
think
go
we
ahead?
have
The
a
floor is
public
yours.
hearing.
First thing should be a public hearing.
Oh, yeah, for a proposed two-lot minor subdivision.
I apologize, I skipped to the, was trying to go too fast. We have a public hearing. Kim, can you read the minutes?
Commissioner Sukla,
Here.
Commissioner Candelaria,
Here.
Commissioner Tell is absent, Administrator Powers.
Here.
Attorney Baxter.
Here.
And Kim Purcell, Montezuma County Clerk and Recorder. Notice is hereby given that the Montezuma County Board of County Commissioners will hold a public hearing for review and determination of a proposed two-lot minor subdivision and rezoning application submitted by Bobby and Dorothy Wright on property located at 19600 Road 16, Yellow Jacket, Colorado, consisting of 138.26 acres, more or less, located south on Road W, east of Road 16, situated in Section 5, Township 37 North, Range 17 West, in and PM. The hearing will be held Tuesday, September 1st, 2020, at 9 a.m. Commissioners' Hearing Room, Montezuma County Administrative Offices, 109 West Main, Cortez, Colorado. Interested persons may attend and give input. Information may be obtained from the planning office, online, service at co-montezuma-co.smartgovcommunity.com public home. You may also contact the planning department at 970-565-2801 with questions. Dated the 17th day of August, 2020, Kim Purcell Clerk, Board of County Commissioners, Montezuma County, Colorado. Published in the Journal on Wednesday, August 19th, 2020.
Thank you, Mrs. Purcell. All right, Don.
All right, I have Mr. Wright here, and they are proposing to subdivide off their residence on the southwest corner and their daughter's residence on the southeast corner from the rest of the ag land, and so that they can sell the ag land to the neighbor to the south. So all residents, utilities, everything's already in place, driveways, so they're just looking to split that off and not be responsible for farming 100 and some acres of property anymore.
You're tired of farming?
I'm tired.
Just tired.
I have one question. So where those dotted lines are, that's the new delineation of the,
That's not accurate.
okay.
They're actually,
It's just a rendition.
Okay.
there's actually, in between the two properties, the ag land will extend down to the south property line. So basically, the 5 acres is about where the 5+ acres mark is.
Well, it's actually up where the top dotted line is there. It kind of comes across right at the, down a little bit. Comes across at that corner. That's that. It's
So-
actually 4.8 acres.
Okay.
This other one will be 18.7.
So my only question, so the house on, which would be Wendy's house,
Yeah.
does that setback, make sure we meet that setback on that property line whenever that's absolutely delineated?
Yes.
Okay, so that we don't run into,
We won't have
The
a
situation.
variance or after the fact variance.
that we're running into?
It meets
on a-
everything in the land use code.
Okay, very good.
Ernie just hasn't got us a preliminary
Right, so
plat.
the-
or
So the real
plat.
line is not in there yet?
Mhm.
Correct.
That's just
Anything
my
else, Commissioner?
rendition.
At this time, we'll open it up to public comment. If anybody would like to make a comment on this proposal, if you'd come to the microphone and state your name and address. Seeing none, we will close the public portion of the public comment, and we will go back to the commissioners for a discussion or a decision. Commissioners, Mr. Candelaria?
So I'd move that we accept the proposed 2-lot minor subdivision and rezoning application submitted by Bobby and Dorothy Wright on property located at 19600 Road 16, Yellow Jacket, Colorado, consisting of 138.26 acres more or less.
Second. Motion is second to approve the proposed 2-lot minor subdivision and rezoning application submitted by Bobby and Dorothy Wright on property located at 19600 Road 16, Yellow Jacket, Colorado, consisting of 138.26 acres more or less. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
There you go.
Okay. Did Ernie get to you guys? He hasn't finished it up?
I'll get in touch with him.
I've been trying to get in touch.
Yeah, he's supposed to be getting us the plat so we can get it all reviewed.
So we'll have legal.
And I'll be in
Oh, and at this time, we'll close the public
You're done.
hearing.
Done? Okay.
Thanks,
And then we'll go right into the next one. It's the planning.
Good luck.
Yeah. The planning department has a request of a variance submitted by James and Lee Cody on property located at 43728 Road Mancus.
So the Codys are requesting an after-the-fact variance. In 2013, they subdivided off 5 acres out of the middle of their property to encompass the small cabin. Unfortunately, in doing so, the property lines go right by their indoor riding arena and right by the existing main house on the south property. So they're in the process of trying to sell everything, so they want to get compliant for the riding arena and for the main house that are both too close to the property line. So they're looking for a variance for both. And the other variance request is the existing main house on the south property is, I believe, 1,836 square feet. They would like that to be recognized as meeting the 1,500 square foot size limit as a secondary residence, because all the buyers that are looking at that property want to build a bigger house on that south property, thereby making the existing residence a secondary residence, but the land use code requires that to be under 1,500 square feet. So they're requesting a variance to recognize that as being acceptable as a secondary residence.
Discussion, Commissioner?
Can't fix that with the land use code, can you?
Well, no, but I mean, the side setbacks, we're in discussion with that right now, so that we actually can fix. But I'm looking at the narrowest point, and it's 14.96, is that correct?
Correct.
Plus or minus
Correct. On the riding arena.
on the arena, and then 17.64 on the top.
And then the house is at 27 point something.
8.3.
It's almost 28 feet.
So the setbacks, I mean, obviously we can resolve. That's pretty simple. But what does that do as far as the square footage for that as a guest house and not in compliance with that 1,500 square foot minimum?
It's 326 or 63 square feet.
Yeah,
over.
350 square feet over. Have you guys ever done that at all?
Nope.
We don't want to be mundane. We'll bring you new stuff.
You're doing a good job.
If it was easy, anybody could do
So
it.
they're going to keep the 5-acre parcel left out and just get
The
rid of
5 acres stands alone, correct, and then the other 42 acres has that main residence, but anybody looking at the property, obviously in that area and with that type of property, they all want to build a much larger house. And
So is this recommendation coming as a hardship? Is that what I read earlier?
in their narrative,
So
Right.
how is it a hardship?
just for the sake that that house, per the land use code, would have to be the primary residence. And so anybody building an additional residence would be stuck to 1,500 square feet.
It's 400 square foot, bigger than my house.
The narrative's below that, Shaq.
So in 2002 is when they split this off, correct?
No, they bought it in 2002, they split it in 2013, so that they could refinance the small house.
What do you think, Commissioner?
Just give me a second.
Okay. Would you like to do a 30-day recess like they do in Congress?
Yeah, we'll take a 60-day recess. No, I mean, the setbacks I'm okay with. I can live with those, and it's just one more one more circumstance where those setbacks obviously need to be reduced, which we're working on that right now. I'm not sure what we're gonna do by allowing that. That might actually need to be another topic of discussion for the Planning and Zoning Commission of, here again, is where did we come up with 1,500 square feet? How did that criteria, how was that developed? Why is it not 1,800 or why is it not 2,000 square feet? So, I mean, I don't know. But maybe it's a topic for planning. Maybe that 1,500 really isn't.
I don't know
maybe it is.
what it was based on or why. I mean, it goes back a long time ago. So the planning commission won't know either.
Right. Okay. That's the only question I have is what are we gonna do?
As far as our department, we don't see an issue with it because of the location. It's not by any property line other than their own. They're on the 5
And-
acres.
And this hasn't gone through planning because it's a variance.
Correct. And it's nowhere near the county road, so it's pretty
Correct.
much isolated. And looking at it, you probably couldn't see that it's 1,500 or 1,800, but
Right.
while they're trying to get compliant, they're being honest with the whole deal so they can get it resolved, because they've actually had buyers back out because of this scenario. So we're gonna buy this property, the property to the east, and their property to the west. So it was a big deal.
Okay, well then I would move that we accept the variance submitted by James and Lee Cody on property located at 43,728 Road M, Mancos, Colorado, consisting of 42 acres more or less.
On which, so there's two variances, correct?
There's a setback variance for the indoor riding arena, there's a setback for the main house on the south property, and then there's a variance for the acknowledging the size of the existing house as a secondary residence.
So it's all variances,
Correct.
all three variances,
So you're including all three?
right? That's how it's presented, is all three of them are at one.
Well, you could break them down though, couldn't you?
Whichever, it's all on one variance page, if you approve it that way.
Okay, how would you like to?
It's acceptable, they're all on one page, so the variance is acceptable for all three of them.
Okay. There's been a motion and no second. So the motion dies for lack of a second.
Okay. Next.
Any recommendations?
Break them down and I would be willing to, for the first two, but not the third one.
So you can make that motion.
Well, I'd move that we approve the variance on the setbacks, the variance on the, what was the second one? On the barn,
The
Right.
riding arena.
the riding arena. We approve those two variances for James and Lee Cody on property located at 43728 Road M, Mancos, Colorado.
So can I ask why not the third one?
Well, because there is no hardship. He knew damn good and well what he was doing when he built the house. He stated that in his letter. And I think that the 1,500 square foot is arbitrary. So I think that we need to change in our land use code the whole, the number of 1,500. But I would like to do that first before this variance was granted.
Okay, so then you need to take that back to the.
Well, doesn't it
planning
make
commission.
sense to grant the variance if you're proposing to change the land use code, but that takes time? I mean, obviously, this is kind of the cart before the horse, but if you want to do away with the 1,500 square foot, then a variance at this
Well,
particular applicant
I
would
would like
make
to wait
sense.
for recommendations from the planning and zoning board to see what they think that number should be.
So you're saying take this to the planning and zoning?
The 1,500 square foot would add to what our proposed changes for the land use code.
And what would your recommendations be?
I'd have to think about it.
Look, it
But it
didn't
won't take-
pass just now. I mean, if you guys want to continue it, you can try to do that too. I mean, I have no idea what the third commissioner, which side he'll fall on, but it didn't pass. I mean, that's,
Right.
And I haven't seconded it.
So then that motion dies for lack of a second.
Right.
Okay.
Specifically, take it back to the P and Z.
Can we get a recommendation? Because that's the first thing they say is, what do you guys
What-
recommend if you don't
Wait
like
a minute.
1,500?
The way this works is P and Z recommends to us. They're supposed to
Unless
do
you're
their
changing the
homework.
land use code, then you guys can bring up a recommendation for them to review
Okay?
When is their next board meeting?
on the 10th.
So we would have a meeting before their next, we'll give you
The
the
7th.
recommendation on the next Tuesday's meeting.
Okay, cool. And we
I
don't,
would like to research it myself, because I don't know where the 1,500 square feet came from. I mean,
couldn't-
that's just an
couldn't tell you.
arbitrary number.
They're all arbitrary.
Well, they're not all
But you gotta go with
arbitrary.
something.
yeah. You know, there was a group that in '97 or something. I don't know if they put any thought or research into this, but it's possible during their comprehensive land use plan that they addressed this and it's backed by some logical reason. I have no idea.
Just have them take a look at it, and maybe they can come up with that, and I will also look at it.
Okay.
All right.
And we do not have a plat to be signed today. The applicants didn't drop that off yesterday.
Okay.
So
good.
that's all we've got.
All right,
All
thank
right.
you, guys, appreciate it.
Thanks.
Sure.
Okay, we'll go to-
Comment, or I screwed the agenda up.
We'll go to public comment. If anybody would like to visit with us, come up to the podium and state your name and address. All right. Seeing none, we will close public comment, and we're going to go to the county assessor. It's going to present us the assessed values. Leslie Bug. First time.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
So this is just a quick assessed valuation report as of today, what the numbers are looking like in our system for this coming 2020 tax year. I did a comparison between 19 and 20 so you can kind of see what's grown and what's decreased in value. The only decrease we had was vacant land. That's due to the increase in the residential land valuations. Everything down the board is up. We're actually looking pretty good this year. I used the current mill levy. If it were to stay the same for 2020, we would be looking at an $87,000 increase in our county general fund for this 2020 budget year.
If it's reduced to the 5.88, did you
No,
look at that?
this is just keeping our mill levy and our residential rate the same because we don't know.
Because we don't know
We
what's
don't know
going to
what's
happen
gonna
at the
happen.
election.
Mm-mm. Nope. I'd hate to even start guessing about that.
So that could then definitely be a reduction.
It could be a reduction just on our residential portion of it. Everything else will stay the same. And then our mill levy, it would just depend on what the mill levy gets set out for this year for county general.
So the way that works with the Gallagher amendment is that the residential can go up or down, but commercial,
Can only go down.
oh, it can only go down.
You can't ever increase it without a vote of the people.
Okay, and then, but commercial cannot go down, or can it go down?
They can both be adjusted
They can
down.
both be adjusted, but they have to have that 55-45 split.
Split.
So they
Okay.
always take the residential and lower it to keep the commercial where it's at.
Which is exactly why the residential assessment rate, they're looking at reducing it because the split is not there. That ratio 45-55 doesn't exist anymore
Mhm.
because the residential properties have gained so
So
much in
much.
value That's why that's why they're looking at reducing it to the 5.88.
Well, I still think that it isn't fair that the commercial has to pay 28%
29.
or 29%, which is, what is that, 3 times?
Yeah, the burden is
Yeah.
definitely put on every
on
other,
businesses.
On businesses.
it's
There's
everything.
people
It's
that
not just.
go to the auctions when somebody has cancer and buy a $500 pie. The people that coach our kids in football and baseball and basketball, those are the people that are getting screwed.
But it's not just the commercial, it's vacant land, it's oil and gas, I mean, it's everything across the board other than residential.
Residential.
So, yeah, I don't disagree.
What do you hear on a Zoom meeting last week? They were talking about the VRBOs, the Airbnbs, and the motels all being assessed at the residential rate.
It's what they're fighting for, they're all fighting for it. Currently, we can't even pick up VRBOs as commercial, even though they clearly are. We have to leave them as residential.
as a residential?
Yep. The only thing being, and, I mean, here again, to be fair, if you want to be fair, then don't make the motels and hotels be at 29% if you're not gonna, tax
And
the
the bed and
VRBOs
breakfast.
correctly. The bed and breakfasts are 29 too. So if you're gonna be fair, let's be fair. But that's not how it seems to be
But
on a lot
that's
of
a
things.
legislative issue.
Yep, correct.
Okay.
So basically what you're doing right now, you're just presenting.
I'm just presenting to you what I have currently on the books. All of my stuff got pushed back a couple of months, so I'm not even gonna have letters out to the entities or my assessment to the state until I think it's the 13th of October. So everything's just a little different this year because everything got pushed back a couple months. So this is just my first report that should have been given to you before August 25th. So it's just a little report.
So for budgeting purposes right now, we can basically figure the 87,000 if it
Correct.
stays at the 7
Well, they're not, I
1.5.
mean, even if it passes in November to change Gallagher,
doesn't-
it's not gonna affect what these numbers are right now.
Okay.
Because it would change
go
in
into
21.
effect in
Yeah, it would.
21.
So
It would
for
go into
our
effect in
budgeting purposes,
21.
we can use these numbers now and
Correct.
we're,
Mhm.
okay.
So then when you do your assessments in 2021, the loss to the county would be in 2022.
Correct. It's the 21
Depending
taxes
on how it
payable in
goes.
21. As that's when we'll see if Gallagher changes and if if we see anything from oil and gas happening, what's going on right now with oil and gas will affect us next year on our numbers payable in 2021, 22, sorry.
Okay.
So we'll just have to kind of
Yes,
see what goes
yeah.
on. But, I mean, right now, our oil and gas is up quite a bit. And Kinder
Okay.
Morgan's production's up, they're just per MCF price is down. So their production was quite a bit higher than last year.
All right. Any other questions, Commissioner?
No, I have none. Thank you, Leslie.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Yes.
Huh?
Could you sit James?
Sure.
So we have the Speedway promoter update with Eugene Felker. Come on up, Eugene. Good to see you guys here this morning.
You
Whichever
also
one
want to
you
join him, Justin? This is part of your facility.
I gotta stand. I don't want to be close to him. Nah. For the record, my name's Eugene Felker, and I actually live in Farmington, New Mexico. I'm the current track promoter out at the Fairgrounds Speedway, also known as Turn 4 Promotions. I asked to be put on the agenda this morning to come and talk to you guys and drop a bug in your ear. Myself and the group of people who helped me out there, just in the year and a half that I've taken over your facility out there and ran it as my own, we went from having about 40 to 50 cars a night to over 100 cars a night at that facility. We went from having 100 people a night in the stands to on an average of about 300 to 400, with an average of 1,300 people a night since the start of the year. I say the facility itself is bringing in thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars into this community every weekend that we race. We're filling motels. We have people that come all the way from Arkansas, from Oregon. We have a family that's already pre-registered for our 3-day show at the end of September from Oklahoma. They're coming out here to make this their family vacation. They're actually going to drop the cars off at the track the Monday before the race. They're going to do everything around here that they can, Mesa Bird, everything. We as the facility out there are bringing revenue back into this county. I know you guys get a small percentage of it when the tax dollars are being spent in the city of Cortez, but
We don't get anything. There is no sales tax. The county receives no fund.
you get
No fund.
nothing from what's
We get
generated.
nothing. We were just having that conversation, so that benefits, obviously, the cities around us, but it does not benefit the county directly through a sales tax.
Well, we need to do something about that.
I agree.
But the reason I'm here today, the main reason, is I'm starting to get the community behind me again out there. Some of the local businesses that have been, I'll just say, taken advantage of in the past. I'm doing everything that I promised everybody I would do. When I came to you guys 2 years ago and told you what I would do, everybody thought I was nuts. I proved that it would work. We actually, this past weekend, had a barrel race and a stock car race going on at the same time. Unheard of. I think Justin will vouch that it was okay. It wasn't horrific like everybody thought it would be. But what I'm here to ask is, I need help out there, guys. I pay these drivers everything that they bring in to get them here, to bring these people into this community, to spend their money here. All of my equipment is old, wore out, used, borrowed, given to me. The place needs to be reworked. The fence on the front straightaway, it's just about had. It's about to fall over.
Eugene, do you have your list? The last time you were in here, you said you were going to develop a list for us.
He actually
And
has a
we were
list.
supposed to have seen a list of,
I was in a hurry this morning when I left because I had to meet somebody else this morning and I spaced it.
so yeah.
So we've started this conversation last week, and that's why James Dietrich is here. He's very familiar with GOCO funding, and I don't know if Justin is or not. Justin, are you very familiar with applying for GOCO grants?
No, not too familiar.
Okay, well, you're fixing to be, because what
just
we
got thrown
want to
under
do
the
is we're going
bus
to take
now.
this list. James Dietrich is going to help get you started so that you know, this is why it's so silly. So you buy a lottery ticket, and then the money goes, the proceeds, I can't remember if it's 70% or whether it goes to improvements like trails and stuff like we're wanting to do at the fairgrounds. And the way that you don't get those lottery funds is when you don't apply for them.
That's correct.
So we would be a fool in this county to not always apply for the maximum amount of lottery funds to improve the racetrack.
Yeah.
I think that we did a very good job approving the upper fairgrounds and stuff, but the racetrack has never had the attention that it's needed. And so I think that we need to take this list, come up with what you guys want to do first, and then we need to apply for a GOCO grant so that we can get that lottery money. James, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I did look into the GOCO route.
James, will
Can
you
you
come
come
to the
forward,
microphone? Thank you.
Okay, so I did look into the GOCO Avenue. I got a response back, and they said funding for any sort of motorsports would be outside of their purview of what they consider to be recreation. So I think GOCO may not be our best option. They did offer Department of Local Affairs, so I'm starting to look into Department of Local Affairs and see what they've got available.
Okay, so then that's the avenue
So-
we're going to have to take.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dola. And so this year, Rob, I got a question for you. How much money did we receive from DOLA this year? Do you remember?
Oh, 330,000.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know that they had lowered it used to be where you could get $2 million a year.
Well,
Right, but what I'm saying, I think because of the shortage of revenue, that they might have lowered that. But I don't know when, I think is it November? I can't remember when the next round is.
October.
Is it too late to put in?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what we need to work on. If it's
Yeah, well,
October,
let me
we need to
shift
come
gears.
up with a list. That leaves us 1.3 million. Well, unless you got something in the next 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, we'll apply again.
Okay,
Well, and it depends, there's different grants, there's energy impact, there's several different places you can get grants in Dola. It's not all the same
Right.
pot.
And different levels too. We're up here, and this would maybe be, one that you don't even have to go to committee with.
So this is your priority list for the racetrack?
Yes.
And what were your costs associated with it? Because that's one of the criteria that, I mean, obviously, they're gonna, typically, they want the whole presentation laid out for them. And Rob is very familiar with that project because we've sat through a couple with him. So you're gonna have to, if this is your priority, you're gonna also have to have the numbers associated with it, and you're gonna have to get with the program because it is October.
so,
Maybe you should come up also, Rob.
well, on this,
We're gonna
so it
get
says all
everybody up there.
electrical from panels to lights to outlets. Would that be the first priority?
That is the first priority. I shouldn't say this in public, but the electrical out there is an absolute nightmare. I've had a gentleman come out that's an engineer for another company here in town, and he's helped me out. Justin, they go out of their way out there at the fairgrounds. If I call them, they run right over. We've had a few issues. I mean, you plug in a coffee pot and it'll blow the breakers. So we have to be real careful. You were out there, you probably noticed that I have light towers everywhere. Those were purchased by me to put out there just for safety. That electrical is really important, and I would love to see something like that take place over the winter. It might furnish a job or two for an electrical contractor here in Montezuma County to get to do something like that. But I've always said sometimes more is less. It's my opinion. Everything out there electrical needs to be removed all the way back to the meter box because it's that bad.
Why don't we do this, Eugene? Why don't we, because you still got a few races left.
Yes.
We can have Justin get the electrician out there. You got, the three of you can meet, and then we could come up with what we need to do
Okay.
to make it better, and then we can get a cost. So that we
Okay.
can take that one. The bleachers, I know that at one time, and we had discussed this, that down the Ute, but you know more about this than I do.
Correct. So prior to you taking over, we had a conversation with Larry a couple of times. The bleachers that they used to use down at basically the casino are still vacant and sitting there, and there are two sections, one on the east and one on the west, and I don't know what their capacity is, but they're very large. And they don't use those anymore, and it sounded like that they would give those or donate those back to us, and that's where we were trying to push Larry into getting with them to see what we need to do to make this thing work. They're there, they're available, they're sitting out there doing nothing.
And that was the casino itself.
Well, you'll have to go through the U Mountain.
I think so. It's where they had the
So
concerts
so
and
Rick
stuff.
Shear is the new gentleman that took over. I was actually in part of that negotiations, and we were so close to getting those donated back. When Rick Shear took over, we had a meeting. It's not going to happen. They actually have plans for those bleachers now.
Okay, so then what we need to do is we need to come up with find out what it's going to cost to replace the bleachers. I'm not sure who you would contact. Well, actually, we've got some history there because of what we did with the bleachers at the outdoor arena.
And maybe do kind of the same scheme.
Yeah. The bleachers we have now, the steps don't match. There's cracks in them. It's
It
it's
would
dangerous.
be the same type of bleacher setup.
Yeah.
The identical.
And
You
then we
may
can-
not have the roof over it, but you would have the identical bleacher
Yeah, as far as the base.
configuration.
So we could come up with that. We got the history to do that. Then on the fencing, we're going to just have to get with some fencing companies, and then you'd have to tell us what you think, what
Okay.
kind of an upgrade we need.
So I actually want to, this is Justin's list, but it's really close to mine. The fencing in between the stands and the track, that would be probably second on the list to have done. It's going over slowly. We've tried pulling it back, can't do anything there. Since the track was built, everything out there was volunteer, everything was donated. As just like me, I'm using what I have to get by. That fence on the front straightaway needs to be replaced just for the spectator safety. So that would actually be second on my list.
Okay.
And
We'll get together
So,
again and we'll get a fencing.
I got a question, because now you said safety. So is it unsafe right now?
it is not unsafe right now. I actually brought the sprint cars back for the first time in a long time. And my insurance guy actually came to the racetrack, looked at everything, went ahead and gave me an all-inclusive right to run whatever I want until October the 11th. The only stipulation was where I have the two other grandstands in the pit area, while the sprint cars were on the racetrack, no one was allowed to be in that area. But he did approve, and it's in an email, he did approve the track and the front fencing. What I'm saying is it's going over. It's probably not going to happen this year. We've done everything we can to hold it back. It needs to be replaced. The whole fence, it's pretty scabbed in there.
Yeah. I think where we're at is make sure you have your priorities and make sure you have your
Yeah.
costs, and then we'll work on looking at a diagram.
Well, I'll get with Justin and we'll get a fence guy out there. We'll look at the front straightaway. We'll meet with an electrician and kind of show him what we need. I'd love to get some 50 amp breakers out there to bring in more vendors. That might also possibly help the fair board if they could get more vendors out there too. It's just not there right now, so it makes it hard on everybody. So that's where I'm at. I mean,
So on the restrooms, I don't think that DOLA, we've already tried twice on restrooms, so I don't know if we can get any money for that. But this last one, make more parking available. You was discussing, or you had an idea that if the pits were moved, what is your guys' thoughts about if the pits were, what did you think that was there room on the west or on the?
Well, that's what we were exploring, is it looks like the west end of the track there. I mean, there's some grade changes. It would take some grading and some work down there,
Right.
but it does look like there's probably enough room for pits down there, which would open up the current pit area for additional parking.
Correct.
And that way it would flow to both sides of, if, for example, you needed overflow for something that was happening over at the, the rodeo grounds, then that parking would be more accessible and available. And vice versa, if you had a huge race event, then you could use the parking that's more associated with the rodeo grounds to fill in the racetrack, so.
I don't have the overhead of out there, but behind the grandstands, that parking lot goes like this and it narrows down. Justin was out watering and you can hardly get in there. And then I seen the overhead this morning and I seen the map. That little hillside right there, there's a good 60, 70 feet where we could square that up and probably add another 100 parking spots just behind the bleachers without really changing the mountainside or anything like that. The property is there. We actually talked last year with some grading and some fill, things like that. There's a lot of property that could be utilized for that parking and racetrack, and it, like he said, that where the pit area is now, it could be cleaned up and used for something else if needed be. But we need some help out there. I'm not going anywhere. I told you guys when I took this, I'd stick around for a minimum of 5 years. I got 3 more years to go, so I'm going to be in here talking to you, harassing you. It's time to fix that facility up because people are using it. Montezuma County residents are using it. We've opened up with just the kids racing, and I hope you enjoyed watching 10-year-old kids. That was something. It's a whole new avenue for these kids. They have something to do, keeps them out of trouble. So, but we will work on this. I will get with Justin. We will get you a priority list. We'll start working on cost really quick because it would be nice to get some of these things started maybe in the winter if we can come up with the funds.
Well, if we can get this when we get this done, then we can apply to the DOLA
Yeah.
funding, and then we'll see if we're successful or not. But we've just got to get it done so we can get that grant.
The
in.
grading plan is something that you guys could come up with pretty quickly, and I'm not sure that would be, I think that's something that we could probably look at ourselves and not worry about.
Oh, yeah,
DOLA.
with our road department.
Well, even with what they have out there, I think you could probably, but take a look at it.
Sure.
Come up with a plan.
Justin, when you're looking at bleachers and fencing and stuff too, you could reach out to the VOTEC and the high school ag program and see if they need some projects to work on and reduce your labor costs.
And when it comes to that, we just need to make sure that the bleachers are OSHA approved. That's a problem I deal with the insurance right now. They're kind of grandfathering what's out there. They actually shut me down this year until I put the 2 handrails up the bleachers. My insurance shut me down until I put those up. The bleachers that are there are grandfathered, but anything that gets replaced has to be OSHA approved. So so
Okay.
you guys know.
So you're gonna have to go through a manufacturer that has those certifications.
And-
Well, I've been both weekends, and Commissioner Candelaria has agreed to come one of the nights when the sprint cars are.
Well, they're going to be back on the 18th and 19th, and they're going to be wing sprints, and we have a 2-seater sprint car that somebody's going to win a ride in for the main event, and I got a driving suit that will fit him.
What about your Trump sign? Where'd it go?
The wind keeps tearing it down, or somebody keeps cutting it loose, but it will be back up. It says Trump 2020, making racing great again. So, but thank you guys for your time. I'm sure that there's some other people here got something to say.
Thank you. Okay, we've got Road and Bridge budget presentation. Mr. Langerhart.
Good morning, Rob.
Did you guys want to say something? We got one more who wants to say something on the Speedway.
My name's Tony Hill, I live at 27950 Catherine Dam, Dolores. First of all, I'd like to thank you guys as our county commissioners for having the stones to set a precedence for the whole racing community throughout really the western part of the United States. You know, when you guys allowed us to continue with our sport this early this spring, and everybody else shut down, I mean, it showed the passion for our sport. We had people all the way from Arkansas. We had a guy from the west coast of Oregon show up at that first race. You guys don't know it, but you really have set a tone for other racetracks really through the United States. You guys did a great thing. I mean, first time that I've ever seen in the 30 years of being our racetrack out here that our track has made a national magazine. Speedway Sports Illustrated, our track, a picture of our track was in that. So you guys, by letting us do what we do and what we love to do, you guys have brought some notoriety to our community, and I want to thank you for that. But the other thing I wanted to say is, you know, what Gene's done speaks for itself. I mean, he took our track that's had several different promoters, and you know, it's had ups and downs, and Gene has brought consistency to our racetrack. He's got a solid schedule, and he's got a solid car count out there, and what he did say, it speaks volumes. I mean, it's bringing tons of people to our community. I wasn't aware of the financial part of it, that, you know, you guys really don't see that much of the revenue that's generated, which I think should be changed. But at the end of the day, it does bring a lot of money to our area. And, you know, when it can fill 3 motels on most of our race weekends, that's saying something for itself. You know, you can't go down to a restaurant or a parts store on a Saturday after the races before they're lined up buying parts, waiting to eat, the gas stations. So, you know, at the end of the day, it has brought a lot to our community, where a lot of these other communities that don't have racing on Saturday nights, they're not doing anything, which, you know, whether you want to believe the virus, you don't want to believe the virus, you guys have done the right thing. And I'm sure I speak for the rest of our racers out there that we appreciate you guys having the stones enough to stand up and do what you've done. So, thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. You finally got an oil truck. Oh,
My name's Larry Rust. I actually live in La Plata, New Mexico. I am from Cortez originally. I'm the guy who's out there helping Gene run the blade till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. I just wanted to talk about a little bit of passion for things. When I met Gene, we were just out at the racetrack kind of hanging out and stuff, and I'd watch him work on other people's race cars. If they couldn't make it, he would give them a car. And he sort of built this community around him because it was a dying sport. And then when we decided to take over the track out there, I said, I'll come out there and I'll blade that track for free. I'll do whatever it takes. I mean, we ran a motor grader that didn't even have a cab on it or hydraulics for the first year. But then he said, there's one thing I want to do. I want to make a 10 to 14-year-old kid class. And he 10, 15 cars he built and gave those kids and said, here, you kids, if you guys want to have the passion to come out here and do this, you can pull weeds, you can paint, you can, help do things in the community out here. And he's giving these kids something to do besides be lost souls that don't have nothing to do, because they don't play football, they don't play soccer, they don't ride horses. He found something for these kids to do something. And 5 years down the road, that's going to be the racing community for us. So that's why we want to make the improvements and keep this thing going for that alone. So that's pretty much all I got to say. Thank you, guys.
thank you. Anybody else? All right. Go ahead, Rob.
Okay, schedule. We do, we have oil, so. So the 2-week look-ahead schedule this month is the chip seal operations are off and running. We got started last week out at Pleasant View on BB and completed that last week, and then got moved down to Road 31 and started Monday morning on 31. And they're moving up the hill towards the end of the pavement up there, and then we'll drop back, thinking on Thursday, and start on Mary at 145, moving. Yeah,
I like that.
it's coming.
I like it. M Road's getting done.
What are you going to do for entertainment when
That
this
means
gets
the
done?
phone calls will cease.
Oh, and they're loving it. They are loving it.
Well, it's a process, but I think we're moving along well. We got everything in good shape, and the road's in good shape, and so I think in the long run it pays off to do what we do, let it set for a while and heal up and fix the spots, and it'll make a better road. So we're getting that done, and then late next week we'll jump into these subdivisions with the single layer coats on H6 down there, and then Road 25. We're about ready to get Darren Stone up and running with his hot plant. We'll be able to get some hot mix, and when we get that, then we're going to go ahead and fix a few roads before chip seal. So there'll probably be a break in the chip seal, come back in mid-September, late September, do some more single coat layers. But we want to get this cold mix or hot mix down first on this patch paving and get it fixed, and then chip seal over it. So we're still on schedule to do all the roads that we had on our list this year to do. It'll be a little later than what we wanted, but I think we'll make it. The weather holds up, we'll be all right. So it's going good. Crushing, Randy's probably going to wrap up today, maybe tomorrow, and then start moving the crusher over to Mancus Pit. We've been over there with the dozer cleaning that up and getting it ready to go in there. So we'll move into Mancus. That gives us about a little over 40,000 ton of reserves at Hay Camp, and we've still got 25,000 at Ormiston. Forest Service is pulling out of Ormiston now. Dolores County's pulling out of Hay Camp, and that gives us a place to go to Mancus and get caught up over there. If weather holds good, we'll probably even try to get down to McCalmo and do some down there. If not, we'll head back up to Ormiston and load up there again for next year. So Four Corners material is scheduled to start paving on the 8th on that Lebanon Road section at 2.7 miles overlay. We'll get that done. And then Stripes Lot is scheduled to be in here the following Monday to paint all these roads that are still needing painted. So we'll get those all done. So that's basically the scope of work we're looking at. If we don't get some asphalt done, then we'll change up some of these roads, and one of the ones we're looking at is Road 21 from Road G down to B, put a single layer coat on it. It's 7 years old this spring, put a single coat on it. And then Road 24, from Road S to Road T is another one that could live with a single coat and still save it without losing much air. So there's some options there to make sure we get those roads done, or at least get some roads done if the other ones don't work out right. So,
How bad is the road deteriorated from Road M on 29 towards?
that schedule is, I'm pulling that in this next year. I'm gonna try to get an overlay on it. Now, Montezuma Water is working their way all the way up through there, putting in all new water line. And that's to our benefit. Let's get in. I'm happy they're there. They're gonna get that done, and that won't happen to happen again for a while, you know, so that's good.
That way they won't tear up our road.
Yeah, and they're actually doing us a favor because they're moving them bar ditches back over where they originally were as they do it, and they're getting that water back away from the road, because that's on our list to do this fall too. As soon as that water comes off and the MBI shuts down, that's one of our big projects this fall, is to get up through there and wipe out them ditches and get them all cleaned up and get them properly functioning again. Unfortunately, that is one area that still depends on our bar ditches for irrigation. That water's got to go down the bar ditch to the next place, and there's no change in that. That's the way it's going to be. So we just want to get them moved back towards the fences more. So, and then build up the shoulders, and then that's on the list to talk about here in just a minute about doing a paving job on it. So get up through there and fix it that way. So.
And that'll go from how far north?
I'd like to go. Well, we'll discuss it. If you want to go into that and get off the schedule, I've got a sheet here.
No,
that's fine. Schedule's done. So
Okay.
let's go to this one because we're getting into that now. So Shaq's got it. He's going to put it on the screen. So this is the road project options that I've been looking at this year, budget-wise. I'm not even going to present budget today because there's still too much loose ends to work towards. So.
Is it blurry or do I need my glasses?
It's blurry.
Can you guys see it on your screen okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so chip seal, we've got to go out to Road 10. We've ground up 5 miles this year, and that's south of BB. We need to get that chip sealed next year. I'm gonna let it run through the winter like we did BB. That works out pretty good. Gives us more time to let it set and go after an ADOLA grant for that. And if we get it, great. If we don't, we'll be budgeted for it. But we're gonna chip seal that next year. Grinding, I need to visit with you guys about your thoughts on Road Y and Road 16 at Yellow Jacket. Road Y is 3 miles long from 491 over 16, and then you go south on 16 down to the tower. That's 2 miles, and it's done. The roads are done. So especially Y. I mean, it's so narrow now, it's dangerous. So I'm proposing to do the same thing. It's working well out in Pleasant View, is grind that up this next spring and set it again with mag chloride and let that run a year and give us time to work on it correctly without trying to jump back in there and gravel it and chip seal it all in 1 year. But you know, it's your thoughts, your ideas. So that's working good at Pleasant View, and I don't know why we couldn't do it at Yellow Jacket too. So it's safer to run gravel than it is what we got right now. I know that. So there's one of the options I'm looking at. Chip overlays, Road 21, Road 30, Road 29. I don't know, you know, west of 491, we may be doing more there than just a chip overlay. That's kind of like Yellow Jacket, but it's so busy that I'd be afraid to do that out there on Road L. We may grind it up and just go ahead and re-chip it in the same year like we're doing on Mary. So,
Do you actually have road counts on that one now?
no, I haven't done them, but I know they're busy. Those are my busiest ones. And they're the most wore out too, Jim.
So that's where I'm going to the west, which picks up all of Indian Camp Ranch and all
Yep,
the
yep, and I've even got Road 23 going down to the Crow Canyon facility
the
south. That's a very busy road, and it's wore out. It's just wore out. It's just too many years of no service or no maintenance. So I'm focusing on those. You know, we've done really well in the last 4 or 5 years of kind of focusing up through between 491 and 145 and kind of east of 145 now. We haven't really done much out west, and those are due. Mary, L, Nancy, all those are due now. So that's where I'll kind of lean towards the next few years, is head that way now, so. Asphalt overlay, Road G, that's an ongoing project down there. Getting from Road J down to the ice plant would be something really good to get done. That's a 2.8 miles. Road G from the ice plant to Battle Rock School, if you want to split it up over a 2-year period or do it all at once, there's another 3 miles. And then from the Battle Rock School, we're gonna have to do some rework down there. We're gonna have to grind up some road, redo some old chip seal. But we can get asphalt to Battle Rock over the next 1 or 2 years, and that'll be a big help. A lot of that traffic depreciates its way out of there for that, after that, you know, so. The other one is Road 29, what we were just talking about. I'd like to get from M to the top of Rotap Hill there, and then from there go on in with chip seal. We could do some more paving up through there, but it's in pretty good shape. If I did a little blade patching, we can just do a chip seal overlay and get us on up to 184, and that would improve that whole run from 160 to 184 up through there on Road 31 there, so.
And they've finished all of their conduit.
Yeah,
in that area
they'll,
also, right? Or
I don't know. You mean the fiber optic?
the fiber, where they were working in the right of way also?
They've done a lot, Jim, and they slowed down this year to connect the dots. And there's still more work out there, and I'm not quite sure where it's all at this point. They haven't applied for any permits recently to do new work. They're just trying to connect all the dots this year. But they're telling us they will be back in the next year or two to continue with these projects. So are they done up there? I don't know, you know. But they don't do too bad. They stay off the road enough. I think we'll be all right. Water line is a little different. They do a major excavation up through there, so I'm glad they're doing what they're doing this year, so. And then, the one highlighted in yellow, this is that asphalt oil treatment that I want to do this year. And these are the roads that we did originally, the Road G, Road 22, 25, L26. These are the older paved roads that are now due for this treatment. And there's a company in Utah that does this, and I think they're well worth looking into. At the price they charge, we can get this oil treatment, and it buys you several years of life on this asphalt. It revitalizes it. So they do it. They do the spraying. They help with traffic control, and then when they're done, we come in and repaint everything. So I'm going to try that this year. So
That'll be interesting.
yeah, I think that's something we better do, because we've had 7 years on some of this asphalt, and you know, it don't last forever. So I think we better start looking at ways to revitalize that
So
asphalt.
this is different than what CDOT did. with-
Yeah, they're doing a fog coat right on. That's just, I think they told you, that's like
Pretty.
putting lipstick on a pig or something, is
Yeah.
whatever they said, you know, so, yeah.
I
so-
don't think they quite said
Yeah,
it
they
like
did.
that, but
They said it.
it's the
That's
same.
what they said. So anyway, this moves into the asphalt. It revitalizes it, loosens it up again, makes it more flexible, and keeps it from turning brittle. So, and that's what we're after, so.
Okay.
And then the bridges, Alkalite Creek is moving along. The information that you guys sent to us, that's what we were looking for on that off-roads
Is that
grants.
that email that I sent
Yeah,
to you
Keenan
yesterday
got it to
for
me, and I
the?
got it straight over to Bechtel, and we're working with them now to
Okay,
see what
good.
it takes to get that application filled out for funds to construct the bridge now. So,
'Cause-
engineering is virtually complete. We're still waiting a little bit on some land acquisitions, and some right-of-way acquisitions, I mean, but other than that, we're done with all that, so.
Great.
So
Yeah,
we have a bridge design, and now we just have to put it out for bid and see what we got, so. Now we need construction funds, so we'll apply for those now.
Well, that answers one of the questions that I had. Second question I have is, obviously, I'd sent you an email. We did have our board-to-board meeting with the city last night. And they did say that they would be up for looking at helping us with, I guess it's F-Road, to the end of the airport.
Right.
So basically, how can they help us? Do we need to have that engineered because of your concerns with the wet or the water, or do you have a kind of a plan in your mind that?
You know, Jim, I know this, that the years of silt and buildup have restricted the drainage, and to go get it to drain correctly, we're gonna have to get easements, permission, or something to go out and open up drain channels, maybe even some riprap rock in these areas, and open it out across private land to get this to work right. Because basically the road's floating on the swamp, and the swamp don't drain no more. And you got all these yards down there over the years that were developed in these wetland areas, or these drainage areas, I should say, not wetlands, drainage areas, that's kind of caused it to back up. Can we put asphalt on it? Yeah, it'll cover it up. We could fix the potholes and cover it.
And I'm not asking for that.
No, I know,
I'm asking
but-
for the best plan, and if we
I
can
don't know.
have a cost.
I don't have
and then-
one, but I'll
No,
look
I know
into
you
it.
don't.
Yeah.
Um,
It just hasn't been on my list to do, because, to be honest with you, I just knew it was gonna take a lot of work, and I was ready to put more money into these other roads and get these higher traffic areas fixed, you know, so.
And I understand that, but if we have the city willing to at least look at it with
Sure.
us, to cost share with us, it might be,
I could use some engineering, you know.
okay,
Well,
well,
that's one thing that, you know, that's kind of stuff down there that, you know, an engineering firm helps a lot on, whether it's Bechtel or somebody like that. I
So-
mean, if the city's got good engineers, I'd be willing to let them take a look at it, so.
okay, because that'll be a conversation that we can have with them also, to say, hey, maybe if you just get it engineered, then we can build it, or
Right,
is that,
well, something like that.
okay?
They better, I would, more than engineering.
Yeah.
They're sitting on $9 million. and it's
Yeah.
not
Well,
their airport,
let's
so.
keep the conversation going to see.
Yeah. I
where we
think
might
Dean
end up.
Roundtree tried, and I think they tried with Dean too. They just never could come to who's gonna do what down there, and it just never did get done. So we kind of mutually fix the potholes and keep traffic moving through there, so, yeah.
What is the length of that, a half a mile?
Oh, maybe half a mile, 3/4 maybe to the airport. It's not very long.
Yeah, it's not right.
No. And you have to be careful what it's, you know, there's still some very heavy industrial type yards down there, and you get this heavy industrial type traffic moving in and out of there again, like there used to be. You better have a road there that'll hold that up too,
Right.
so, yeah, so. Shaq, can you bring up that picture? This was an incident Friday that we spent most of the morning on. That blue line represents a truck with a super big, long, heavy load that was trying to avoid going under the flume, so he turned west on Road U and went south on Road 20 and was trying to work his way back to 491 on Road S, and fell off of the road with the trailer and the truck. The truck on the lower right and the trailer on the upper right.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, oh boy, yeah, this went on all morning, Friday morning, so this was a big deal. So in the process of all this, the big tow truck showed up, and they couldn't hold themselves up with pads under their outriggers, so they had to just put their outriggers down with the grips, and they just cut right through that asphalt, and all this has all been just repaved and all new, you know, and tore it to pieces. So we've got insurance names, we've made contact, and so far they're being cooperative, or they say they are, and we're working towards a resolution to pay for all this. I did get Four Corners, they're coming in Monday to start paving, or Tuesday after the holiday, to give me a price to fix this, and it's, the next sheet is $21,400, and so I need you to approve a change order on the Lebanon Road contract to add this to it. And we'll get this done while we got the paver crew in here and get it done before winter. So
And
what
then
we're gonna
this'll
do
be
is going back,
charged back to the insurance.
and then I'll charge back to the insurance, yeah. But I gotta get this done. But going back to the picture there for a minute, Shaq, please. Each one of those little hash marks out there kind of represent where the outriggers were tearing it up the road. So what we're gonna do is square cut each one of those out. We've gotta go clear back into the subgrade, and fix the subgrade, and get it back up to grade with compacted materials, and then patch those. And then that whole outline in red will be an overlay over the whole intersection, just to seal it all back up again. And so that's the scope of work for that 21,400. So I need a vote to do a change order on that contract with Four Corners, so I can get them to do it next week while they're here, so.
The insurance company, obviously, we're gonna do it while they're here, but
I may have to have
You
John
got a
get me in
picture of
another
it?
lawsuit, so. Did you have a picture of that truck? Oh, okay.
was that yours?
Was it, yeah, does it say Higgins on the side there?
IRS is trying to call you.
Okay, so I guess I would move that we accept the change order for the HMA patching and the 1-inch overlay of the County Road S and County Road 20 intersection in the amount of $21,440 to Old Castle Southwest Group Incorporated.
Second, motion is second to approve the mobilization of the HMOA patching and 1-inch overlay of the County Road S and County Road 20 intersection for a total bid price of $21,440. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thanks. I don't have any reason to believe the insurance won't work with us. We've contacted them. They're working right now. They moved it up to commercial, elevated it up
should.
to the commercial division, and I haven't heard back from those, but I don't have any reason why they won't. I mean, the guy was honest. He was as honest as day is long. He just got in trouble, and it ended up being that way, and the insurance company will help us with this. So
Yeah.
they're aware that we have our quote, and they're ready to accept it, and so get an adjuster.
I don't
and we'll
either.
get-
It's just a process. We just have
It
to go
is,
through the
so-
process.
So it could take a year to get it.
Well, I understand that,
And
but
so I want to get it fixed before winter so we don't have a bigger mess out there, you know, so.
I understand.
Okay. Now, back to the road projects. If you guys are good with those projects, I'll start fidgeting with the budget to get everything to fit, because that's going off of the 2019 revenues and the 2019 expenditures, and we're bidding for 2021. So when next time we visit, I'll have a budget put together with that list of roads on it, so. Unless you got something else you want to throw in there, so.
I mean, I leave that up to your expertise. You're out driving the roads and seeing what the traffic's doing. I
Okay.
mean,
Well, I know
I
Keenan-
drive them, but I
Keenan had a
don't.
good idea last year and changed everything up, and it was for the best. So, I mean, it is good to have your input. So if you got one,
Well, we better make this decision then before he gets back. So, no. Yeah, I'm good with it.
okay, good. Well, that's the direction we'll go in, and so when I see you again next time when they do budget proposals or
Okay.
present, well, we'll be all locked in, so.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Rob.
Hey,
You
Rob,
bet.
can we also just at least start a discussion about the Summit Lake roads? We have had a couple comments that have to do with the parking lot that BLM is considering putting in. And some people are suggesting that, hey, you should make that road a green road and improve it and improve the rest of the roads there because it's going to be increased traffic. And, we certainly don't have to make any decisions today, but I just wanted to get your input. I know I shot you an email, but get your input and get the commissioner's input on whether that's something we should consider doing. And I'm talking about specifically that section line where there's a non-exclusive easement where the BLM is planning on utilizing to put the parking lot in.
So, N Road.
Yeah, that would be.
It would be N Road. off
Going
of
back to the west.
35.6.
Right.
So I also read those, but the complaint, I saw 2 complaint letters, and I'm not sure I would necessarily agree with their statements totally, but that is a green road, right?
It's not green going west that I'm aware of. The road itself, we've turned green, what, a couple of years ago?
35.6.
35.6, 35.9, and in going up around towards the east is all green. We went from red to green. But from that curve going north back to the west was not part of that road. It's just an easement. So if it becomes an access to that, then I would recommend we turn it green to match everything else. And that way we can work in there technically without any
To tie in
drawback.
the N
Right,
Road
right.
to the west.
And
To
that
the
was
west, yeah.
that was one of the issues. And I brought Mr. Dietrich in here too, just in case he wanted to add any input or at least to hear the conversation. But so one of the issues was, are we going to make that a green road? And also, some of the neighbors up there are suggesting that we should improve all the roads up there, or at least the roads that would access that end road, because there might be an increase in traffic. So they want us to do more work and invest more money into that neighborhood.
The road that so N Road goes back to the east and ties into 35?
35.9.
Makes a
Okay.
horseshoe.
Yeah.
And that's all a green road, correct?
Mhm.
And we take care of that already.
Just a couple times a year. It's on a seasonal basis.
But we take care of it, and that road is wide enough for any kind of access. So as far as designated routes, like we do with everything else, if we have horse trailers going in there, can't we specifically designate that, because that road is already capable of carrying the additional traffic, and then end to the east and keep them off of 35.6? Is that,
You
I mean-
can. I think 35.6 is a better road.
or was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's better shape than 35.9. But they're all pretty primitive up there, you know, they're nothing special, and we've done quite a bit of work the last couple of years fixing some rocky areas and some mud holes and adding some gravel, and they've added gravel, and they've all worked together. I personally think we have a good relationship with the folks up there. And yes, they probably do worry about 50 trailers a day rattling down through their horses in it. I personally don't see over 1 or 2 a week, but, you know.
I don't either.
So there's a balance here, right? And I might be low and they might be high, but I'll bet in the middle we finally figure it out, you know, kind of thing. And yeah, we might have to make a few turnouts in the future, but I wouldn't get too excited about major improvements or snow removals or any of that stuff, because
Until we got some history behind
the
it.
folks are kind of happy up there the way it is, and if we need to add a little more help, we will, just like any of these other primitive roads we work on, you know, so.
Yeah,
That's
feel
kind of the way I look
I
at
feel
it,
the
so.
same way.
Good.
It's,
So it's,
you gotta have some history there if it blew up and I
But,
just-
yeah, I would agree. I don't think you're gonna see more than 1 or 2 a week.
Yeah, and I do think that my opinion was from that curve at 35.6 going west onto this new idea of getting a parking lot out there should be green, so that there's no questions or issues about jurisdictions or maintenance or who's doing what, you know, so.
Ken Road.
It'd be an extension west of in, yes.
So John, how would we go about doing that? What would we have to do?
We ought to, whenever we talk about our road maps, I mean, we can certainly do this sooner than we adopt our next road map. Perhaps have Doug do a presentation and do a public notice that we are talking about labeling that a green road. I mean, previously, it was kind of unknown. It is a section line, though. It's a section line road. And then we found out there was a non-exclusive easement on it as well. And so that's why, you know, it was my determination that, hey, that's open, we can use it. But as far as making it a green county road, we ought to probably give public notice that we're going to change the map and do that. And I can talk to
Well, why don't
Doug
we
or.
start the process and
Okay.
do that? So we, go ahead, James.
Well, I would add one other thing. I mean, I think maybe sending.
James, do you mind? Sorry to interrupt you, James. Do you mind coming up just so people can hear you?
Sorry, they,
We can hear you fine, but there's people in TV land that don't hear that.
Yeah, so, you know, I think maybe sending the BLM a letter so that they can document this in their scoping process. That's one of the requests that they had. They just needed some kind of a final decision from us on that. And so I can help provide that. I'll bring that forward next Tuesday.
Please do.
So we'll have that. The other thing that they did request was road counts. And I don't know, you know, I don't believe we've got any road data on that particular road right now.
And James is
I
referring to the
looked-
BLM made that request, right?
The BLM made that request, that's correct. That is something we could do, I suppose, is maybe request a road counter be put up. It will give us some baseline data on what the traffic is right now. You know, and once that place becomes opened up, that'll give us some data about increased use also. But again, that's, you know, it takes time for somebody to go out and do that. And in the past, I don't think there's any data on that road. I looked. If there is something, I missed it. But it's just, you know, it was not really that important of a road to put a road counter out in the past. So I'll just throw that out to you. We can tell them we can do it if that's what, you know, I don't know who's doing it anymore.
We do.
I was gonna say, we can do that in-house, right?
Yeah.
So how long does that take? Is that a 2-week?
Well, it's about a 7-day process. to get
7
a real
days?
good one. You can run it longer, but I found that 7 days gives you a pretty good average. That's like a Monday through Monday, so it's basically a really main day. So that
So-
includes a weekend.
So can we get that done, Rob?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, we need
And
to
then-
get going on it before it starts snowing,
Right.
so we don't tear them out. So yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be good to have, yeah. So I'll get on, right, you bet, so.
Okay. And then we can start that process next week when you give us that letter?
Certain.
And
So-
then, yeah, and then it's just all policy then after that. I'm in favor of Green Road just for the pure fact that it's jurisdictional and we're not arguing about red roads or
Right.
non-red roads.
You can get in there and do whatever you need to do.
Yeah, if it's nothing, it's okay. We don't have to do anything.
Right.
We can build it wider, we can do whatever we need to do, so. And I think it's just better all the way around.
well, we'll get a public notice out and we'll do it.
Yeah, so. Good. I'll get you a car count, so.
Okay, anything else?
No. See
You brought a plate full, that's for sure. All right, thank you.
See ya.
Noxious weeds, Bonnie Loving. Good morning.
Morning.
Bonnie, should we break for a couple minutes?
We'll wait a couple minutes for Mr.
Sorry.
Candelaria.
The itty
We'll
bitty
just sit-
bladder
It's gonna
committee
take
needs a
little
break.
nap.
The what?
Itty bitty bladder committee. Commissioner Sukla, what type of thistle is on the screen?
That is musk thistle.
Heck, yeah.
And I don't know what kind of pants that guy's wearing, but I've never seen a pair like that before.
And what is
He always
this,
has his bear spray too. It's kind of funny.
what is this plant
Oh,
right
is that what
here?
that is? Is it bear spray
Yeah.
and a gun?
What kind of plant is this right here?
John?
Well, I can't use the name, but does it start with Indian?
It starts with common mullen.
Yeah.
But is there another name that starts
No,
with
it's,
Indian?
it's
No.
mullen.
Yeah.
Mullen. No, I'm jealous of Bonnie's
We are on
knowledge
YouTube.
about these. I love
But I was
this
right,
stuff,
right?
but
You're correct.
Yes.
it's a dated picture, isn't it? That was one of your former employees.
Oh, good eye. Yeah, but I like the picture. You know, progress report. It's like they're standing here like, what the heck am I going to do? You know? I think it's a fitting picture.
Yeah, because it's so bad. So where is that picture taken?
That is up by Red Arrow Road.
Oh,
He has like this private property surrounded by the Forest Service. I think it's under conservation land or something, land conservancy.
all right,
We're ready.
Bonnie.
Okay,
Weren't you here last week?
what?
Weren't you here last week?
Yeah, I'm here every week. I just love talking to you guys. Oh, and speaking of last week, did you guys look at the ATV stuff?
I did.
Yeah. I think that was fine.
I mean, I do too. I don't see any issues with it.
I mean, all the specs, you know, line up with the others, so,
And it's from Handlebar, you said?
yeah, and Durango.
Kind of a different name. I've not heard of the name.
Yeah, it's a
but-
new brand, new company. Well, it's an old company. They would manufacture parts for other companies, but now they're doing their own ATV.
And do you remember what the motor, who made the motor?
I can't remember. I'd have to look at the. I don't remember. Okay.
So, you know,
So you want approval?
Yes, please.
What do you think, Mr. Candelaria? Commissioner?
I don't know.
Was it in this one?
I'm trying to find the number. Unless Shaq finds it quicker than I can.
Wait, no. CF Moto C Force.
So you want the 600,
Yeah.
and that's big enough to do what you need. It's gonna, the 400 that you're getting rid of is
Too little.
too little.
Yep. Yeah, and I'll probably give the Honda ATV to the landfill with a little backpack sprayer so they can just kind of maintain stuff. And then the Polaris is going to go to auction. It's the plan.
So yes, I would move that we accept the bid for the CF Moto C4 600 at the cost of $7,001.99 for the weed department.
Second, there's a motion and a second to approve the CF Moto C4 600 4x4 ATV for an amount of $7,001.99 for the Montezuma County Weed Department. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Gracias. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Do you guys know what diffuse snapweed is? I should have brought one in. No?
What is it?
Diffuse snapweed. So we have 3 knapweeds in this county. We have Russian, we have diffuse, and we have spotted. And actually, we have a hybrid, too, between spotted and diffuse. We don't have too much of the diffuse and spotted, so we're really working hard at eradicating it. So we're trying to monitor all the populations, work with the landowners to get it treated. And we're doing a good job, as you can see. So compiling data from 2017 through 2019, we had 213 total acres of diffuse knapweed mapped, and now we're down to 78. So we're getting there, and we're still mapping the previously mapped areas that
we didn't see diffuse snapweed on this year, but we'll keep monitoring because those seeds are viable 2 to 5 years. Okay, next. So Russian knapweed, the acres since 2016. So I compiled all the data and I did a union and dissolve on ArcMap, so we don't have overlapping data. So this acreage is like the total acreage that I've mapped since 2016. So 11,887 acres of Russian knapweed. Compiling data from last year and this year, we're down to about 7,200 acres, so we are seeing a good reduction. Hoary cress, we've mapped almost 3,000 acres in total in Montezuma County. In the last 2 years, we're down to about 2,000, so 1,000 acres lower. Next. Oh, this is louder.
It's amazing you can make a cell phone last 10 hours and we can't make one of those things last an hour.
Here's a map of Canada thistle. We've mapped about 13,000 acres since 2016, and we're down to 6,200 acres. Yeah, so we're doing good. Next. So this is just a map of all the applicants who've applied for the cost share in the previous years. You can see it's pretty widespread throughout the county, which is awesome. And so I think the cost share is a big incentive to landowners, or a help to landowners to manage these noxious weeds. That's why I think we've been so successful, because we've really been pushing the cost share and advertising it, letting landowners know that we have it and it can help them. So I think that's a huge thing for our department. Okay, so just some numbers real quick. So in 2020, I've mapped noxious weeds on 730 properties. Total properties I've mapped with noxious weeds since 2016 are 2,247. So about 32.5% of those still have noxious weeds. So that's pretty good. We're seeing a huge reduction in the number of properties that has noxious weeds. Total backpack sprayers loaned out is between this year and last is 136. I think this year we're at just 90 alone. Total property visits so far in 2020 is 49. Total phreatophytes removed last year and this year, so that's Russian olive and salt cedar or tamarisk. That's equaling 21,580 plus 1,300 sprouts this year. So they've been kicking butt. Okay, proposed budget. So I did this differently because my budget's always confusing because I get so much grants. And so I wanted it to be clear of how much I'm asking from you guys compared to how much money is coming into my budget for grants. Does that make sense? So as you can see, the bottom line has the totals. Since 2016, that's when I started applying for grants. I don't think this program has really applied for grants in the past. That's why you see that huge jump between 2015 and 16. So then you go over to 2020, and so I just outlined in this spreadsheet what I'm requesting from you guys. So permanent salaries is the same as last year. Part-time, that's my office manager and my full-time sprayer. And I left Russian olive salaries out because that's covered in grants. Fringe benefits, that's going down from last year because we included the Russian olive fringe benefits in that, which is getting covered by grants. Cost share program, I reduced it to 25,000 because it's pretty easy to get grants to help supplement that cost share program, and just to help, the county general, maybe $5,000 would help them out. Let's see. Operating expenses, the same. Education, same. Fuel, I actually increased to $6,000. Wait, no, I didn't. No, it was still 4,000. I can't read. Telephone.
Is the telephone that much? 3,000 usually?
Well, I'm looking at the year-to-date actual. What am I at?
2695.
That was 2019 actual. I don't see my.
2,000 is what it shows right now.
Yeah, okay. So I guess it is that much. I have a cell phone that I map off of, and then my full-time sprayer has a cell phone, and then my Russian Olive guys has a cell phone. So insurance and bonds, that's the same. Enforcement, same. Repairs and maintenance, that's increasing a little bit. We're gonna get a dump truck from Rob. That way we can pull the excavator that we're renting for the Russian Olive crew. So that'll be used, for when we do Russian Olives on the roadsides as well as on the project. So that's the repairs and maintenance increase that Shane suggested to do. Dues, meetings, and travel, I reduced that to $1,000. Typically I go to the CWMA meetings for continued education credits, but it's so expensive, and it's usually in Fort Collins. And I think I would prefer just to hold local meetings to benefit our local community instead of spending that money for just me and Dawn to go all the way up there. So that's why I reduced that. Does that make sense? Okay. Chemicals is the same as last year. Okay, so what I'm requesting from the county is $247,402. And then going to the next slide, so this is my total budget. So this is including all the grants that I get for my projects. So in here you'll see the additional 1125 line item for the Russian Olive salaries. That's all covered by grants. The cost share, I generally get at least $20,000 to put into that account. It's going to vary. COVID probably is going to impact that, but usually I can get money to go in there. Russian Olive expenses, that's covered by the grant. So then you can just see revenue. So the Department of Agriculture, we got $20,000 for the cost share. And then we got some money for the Mancos River project. Wait, yeah, and that's not on here. Well, you can see, and I think on my next slide is actually the grants that I received. So in 2020, we received a grant from HPP, so Parks and Wildlife, for $7,100. Water Supply Reserve Fund, we received $16,840 to purchase that mulcher attachment head. We received $58,000 from the Colorado Department of Agriculture this year, and so a portion of that's going into cost share, a portion of that is going into the Mancos River project, and then a portion of that is going into the Russian Olive project, and actually $10,000 more is going into a special Forest Service cost share project. And then we obtained a 3-year grant from Colorado Water Plan for $62,500, and that's for the Phreatophyte project. And then we also obtained a grant through the Farm Bill, through the NRCS, the RCPP grant for 5 years, and that's $250,000. So does this all make sense? I kind of divided it because it's always confusing because you see this huge number, like last year, 406,000. Well, that's not what I'm asking from you guys because a lot of that is coming from grants.
Correct. So do you anticipate, any of these grants, obviously the 5-year and the 3-year grant you already have, but the CDA, the WSRF, and the HPP?
So the WSRF, I'm not expecting to get that next year. Actually, I think they wiped that off the board because of COVID, but that was just the attachment head, so it's not really funding salary. CDA is pretty consistent, pretty confident I can get that. HPP, I generally get money for various projects, so I'm pretty confident. I did my budget, and no matter what, the salary, Russian Olive crew salary will be covered in benefits.
Through that grant?
Through those grants, okay. Through the Colorado Water Plan and RCPP. Does that make sense? So it's all pretty much the same. I did reduce cost share by $5,000 just because I know I can get funds elsewhere to help supplement that program.
And you reduced your dues, training, and travel?
Correct, yes.
Looks good, Monty.
Cool.
Okay. Any questions?
No, I think it's great. That's a lot of money through grants that you were bringing in. That's, 5 years, $250,000, and then that other, that.
Yeah, and it's all going to the community. It's not going for any kind of profit for the county. It's going directly to the landowners.
To the to the weeds, so.
Yep.
Yeah, good job.
All right, thank you. Landfill, Mel Jarman. Looks like you got a four-wheeler.
Oh, yeah. Well, the bill started coming in for LaSalle.
Oh, no.
So I think it's on the last page.
The
you
bills
can
that we
see.
planned for, or the other bills?
Well, they planned for them. Yeah, they're good. It just shows we're in the red about 280,000 for the month.
We've experienced that ever since Shaq became a county administrator, so it's nothing new.
But Cemet came in, finished laying the last liner last week. We have an engineer on site today where we are putting in the berms this week, and hopefully by Friday we are done. They're out there working on it now. So, and we're back to 10 hours until we get this thing done on the crew, 10-hour shifts, to make sure we try and get it done before Labor Day weekend.
Well, then do you have a final inspection through CDPHE or?
Well,
that-
what they'll do is, the engineer's here, he's gonna do the CQA and do all that. They'll take it back to their office in Denver, finalize it, send it to Bob Peterson, he'll review it. Then, as soon as he signs off, we're good to go with
We
trash.
get the final certification then.
Hopefully,
Good.
hopefully, they'll do it real soon so we can start moving trash, because I want to get the 5 foot of fluff layer in and the intermediate layer of dirt before winter. But last time we built a cell, they sat on it for what, 8 months, Shaq?
Yeah, we submitted in July and they approved it in April last
Yeah.
time. So it's almost a good guarantee if they do that again, we'll get a good winter. So,
Well,
Is that how it works?
yeah, that's how it works, because it
That's how it
builds up
works, yeah.
leachate above what we're allowed to have in their permit, so.
Well, this is a new cell. Right now, we have no leachate.
You haven't been through 6 months of a good winter yet.
That's true.
so hopefully we'll get it signed off quickly.
I'm
and we
hoping,
can
because
start
Bob wants to
putting that-
retire in December, and he knows about this, and he knows that we're trying to get this done,
So you can get your,
so we can get it, yeah.
your 5 foot of fluff in there.
The grant, we're working on that. We already started the process with CDPHE on the grant. Got a few bids in. I haven't gone through them yet. I'm trying to get through this cell. We did receive a bid on a machine that's not a trommel that may work better for us. And I've talked to the grant people in Denver about it. They said if it will, they'll work out something where we can go ahead and get it. It's actually cheaper than the trommel, but I'm not sure that we want it. We received bids on 2 different trommels. One of them is within the specs that I asked for, and one of them is way over the specs that I asked for. So we're talking between 159,000 to 199,000. We've received a grant for 170. But when we look at it and compare the apples to what we need, we may want to spend the extra money for the bigger trommel because our composting operation's growing while we have the grant money to use.
So,
How-
like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead,
We're
'cause I was
asking the
gonna
same.
say-
How much more capacity? I mean,
It's
how-
quite a bit. Like I said, I haven't sat down and gone through this and compared them apples to apples yet, because I'm trying to get through with this cell. And we actually started more compost, so I'm busy doing that too. But that's where we're at. I've got the bids in on some pumps. I'll be doing that hopefully in the next week. Coming to you. I'll have to have Shaq put me back on the agenda for the approval on which pump we need to put in. for
How
the
big of a
leachate.
pump do you have to have?
It's just a half horsepower, but it's all the controls that go with it. Because it's automatic, we have to have electric come in, they gotta put an electric line out there to it, permanent panel, all that good stuff. And because of the slope, you guys seen it, those pipes are on a slope and that pump's gonna be laying flat. Well, I can't use the float system like I used in cell 1.
Because it's not vertical.
I have to use an electronic transducer, which senses. So it's a little more involved process, obviously a lot more cost because there's the nick that they've got. So, but they're looking around about $10,000 for the pumping system, about another $5,000 for the electrical, which the electrical I had put in the proposal for cell 4. So I think we're still gonna come in under what I had proposed, but it's probably gonna be over 500,000 time we're done. Because I think we're at, it's on the last page. We're at 463,000 total for the year so far. But we're almost done. We still got some bills coming in. Simbeck sent us their final bill for their final deal. The final rental equipment for the dozer and all that's coming in, so next month will be in the red again. But we should have a total by then on the cell, except for the pump, which will be later this fall. It's a 6-week build time on one of those pumps. So.
And then, so when do you think that you're gonna kind of be caught up?
As soon as we get these berms done, I'll be caught up, but are you talking money-wise?
No, your workload, as far as the sale and,
Well, as soon as we get
Friday.
these berms done, we'll go back to normal.
So 1 week, a few
Yeah.
more days, if nothing.
I wanted this done a month and a half ago, but
Right.
issues happened. But yeah, hopefully by next week, we will be back to a normal schedule.
the reason I asked that, and I already know what you're gonna say, we talked about a tire deal, but I thought you might be too busy this year to do that tire thing. I mean, we might be out of time already.
I think that was with CDPHE, right, as far as the grant that you got for the shredder?
Well, no, I didn't get a grant for a shredder. I got a grant for a trommel screen to screen the compost. It's part of the composting.
No, I'm talking about the tires.
That wasn't a grant. We had to
Oh,
pay
that
for that
wasn't
out
a
of our
grant.
budget,
Okay.
our budget. And this year with the cell build, okay, so we got the cell build, it's gonna probably be a little over 500,000.
Mm-hmm.
We just paid for the loader, that's 55,000. We're gonna have to come up with 45,000 as our portion for the grant for the screener. We're not gonna have a whole lot of money left,
Yeah, we're gonna be,
So your answer is, let's wait till next year.
at least, please, yes.
Okay.
So while they're on that topic, they had a board-to-board meeting with the city council last night. And the city cleanup day that they usually do in April around Earth Day, they want to do sometime in September, where the commissioners generally waive the tipping fee during that day. They're supposed to get back with us on the date. Colby may have already gotten the date to you, but
I haven't, no, I haven't.
the commissioners threw out the idea, and everybody liked it, that instead of taking everything at no charge, that the people bringing a load bring non-perishable food. So could you have Rachel reach out to the food banks and see what they need and how they would be able to collect it or whatever, get it from you guys, work out the details on that end of it?
Yeah, yeah, you bet.
that way we can, I mean, they're getting something for nothing, and
Well,
if they
yeah.
bring a can of soup or I mean, whatever, that'll help feed a lot of people through the winter that have been actually
Right.
impacted through COVID, so.
One of the things,
Hopefully.
Larry, down on the tires, the state had come up with a deal that they would pay us $12 a ton for shreds that we could use for daily cover. Obviously, we shredded all those last year and used them for daily cover. This money came out, we missed it. They came out after we'd already done it. Now, because of COVID, they've done away with it for now.
Okay, all right.
So,
And I think we're gonna see a lot of those
yeah.
monies disappear because of COVID.
And the other issue we had, the shredder that we used, those shreds didn't meet the requirement for size
They were
that
too
they would
big.
pay us for. We had to grind them finer. But that's something we're gonna be looking into when we apply for a grant for a shredder.
Okay, all right. I understand. I already knew had a good idea what he was gonna say.
Yeah.
Anything else?
The budget
nothing.
presentation?
Oh, yeah, we've. Yeah.
Hey Mel, are you
That would have been a good way to sneak in some.
with the Carver landfill? Are you satisfied with CDPHE's email assuring us that the covenants aren't gonna.
No, that's fine with me.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
comfortable with it. I just thought I'd ask.
Yeah,
you.
Jacob, our engineer, is working on the plans right now, and Bob's aware of it,
Okay.
you know, that we are working on it. So, he, hopefully by the end of the year.
All right.
or Way before that, I want to start the subgrade on that project this fall. So we can keep moving on that.
All right, let's go after the budget.
So can I stop for 1 minute? Can we have James Dietrich listen in on this governor's office Zoom meeting? Because I know that we're
Sure.
going to miss it.
I'll just text him and tell him to listen.
And does he have that
I
information?
don't know that he has a Zoom meeting, but
Okay.
the governor's on TV all day today.
Well,
He's doing everything.
okay. But if you could at least listen in at this one starting at 11 o'clock to be able to give us the information so that we can continue on. Thanks, Shaq.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Not a whole lot of changes. The landfill is what it is. I mean, we have a certain expense that we have to spend every year. That hasn't really changed a whole lot. On the last page, I did keep the dues, training, and travel about the same. We do have to send, it got canceled this year because of COVID. So we do have to send somebody to a composting school. There will be one in March in San Jose again, hopefully. So we can get somebody else down there trained that can do that. I put in the budget for next year a new scale for the landfill. Contacted a couple scale people, took an average. That scale's coming apart. And if we lose that, it's gonna be really hard to make. That's how we make our monies, by weight. And it's important that that thing work and work properly. And as we clean out under this, Shaq can testify, we're getting flakes of metal. That thing's fixing to collapse on us.
How long has it been there?
Since '94, they what they did is they put an above ground pit or above ground scale in a pit, and then gave no access to clean it at all.
What is your cost
So-
of that?
85,000. That's a big cost. Obviously, I realize that you have to weigh, that's the only way to be accurate.
Right, and
Get
what the idea is to remove this scale. If we lose one load cell, that we can't even get to the ones on the east side.
Yeah,
way
the
they
two
built it.
inside on the east.
You can't get to them to fix them. Replace them, nothing. So what we need to do with the scale is take the old one out. They can use part of that for the subgrade and put an above ground that we can get to and maintain.
So you drive up onto it.
So like, almost like a gravel,
Like, yeah, similar, but not near, I mean, it's only
Right,
a
yeah,
foot and a
just-
half, 2 foot tall.
so that you can access it.
Right. Because this thing gets snow in it, it freezes. When it freezes, we can't get accurate weights. And it's been a pain in the butt for years. And now as we try and clean under there, we reach under those tools as best we can. We're getting flakes of metal coming off the bottom of that. It's about gone. The other big expense, I've already talked to y'all about it, because of the increased size of the landfill, the cost of the engineers is way up for next year. And the one simple cost there was the $55,000 for the Tier 2 air monitoring for the methane, which if we don't do it, was it almost $2 million that landfill has now?
A little over.
And they don't produce methane, but they didn't get their stuff done in time, and the state made them put in a methane collection system anyway.
And it costs $2 million.
They're into $2 million now.
Flat fee.
Okay, well,
So that is what it is. It's just something we got to do to appease CDPHE.
And the EPA, that's an EPA
And the EPA,
guideline.
yeah.
I was gonna say that's the EPA, so,
Yeah,
okay.
that's the feds.
There's a cost there in construction for the composting pad. We got to have a small liner for that, estimated about $38,000.
That's going to be all clay, right? No synthetic?
The only synthetic is the collection pond at the end.
Okay.
We have to have a pool that captures it, that we can reclaim it, and it has to be lined.
And then you could gather that leachate with the water truck and then rewater your rows with
Yes.
it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. that's what it's for. As far as the actual pad, we're still waiting on the engineers to find out if we're gonna have to actually lay a clay pad, or if the soil there is already good enough, we just need to level it.
And
I'll-
where are you putting it? Is it
It's gonna be on the Carver
sale.
field.
Oh,
So
on
when
the
you come in the front gate,
Oh,
Yeah.
on the car field to the
right
left.
there to the
north.
left, we're gonna put an
Yeah.
11-acre composting pad in there.
Okay.
And then they'll
That's the
have
plan.
enough room to take all the produce in the county
Yeah.
and just keep with it
Yeah.
all the time.
That's
You're gonna
the-
have to produce a lot of compost for 85,000 and 37, yeah. Perfect, awesome, do it. I think you can do it.
Oh, I think we
I
can
really
too.
do. I
And,
think
and
so.
once
You
we
want
start doing,
compost paid for the scale.
Absolutely. I think he's doing it. He's already out of, you're already out of compost.
he
You're
sells out
selling
every
that.
year.
Yeah, we sold out months ago.
They sell it as quick as they can produce it, so.
But once we can do the produce compost instead of the
Correct.
biosolids, we can charge a better price for it.
That's gonna be, yeah, that's two different commodities.
Correct.
Because the food waste compost, you can use in your gardens. The
Mhm.
biosolids compost, you're not supposed to.
Correct. So
So-
everything to the north in the Carver field is gonna be that.
Right.
So
Well,
I
11-acre
think-
piece of it.
I think that, I mean, it's good, you're expanding your business to take care of the waste,
Right.
which also reduces our, what's the word they
The-
use, the,
The deferred,
Well, it takes it out of the landfill.
yeah.
right,
So you're deferring it to,
So-
it's a reuse
right. We're
program.
recycling the food that's
Right.
wasted into something that's good. So I realize
Correct.
it's a cost of doing business.
And that's how we got the grant,
Right.
is keep it local, use, compost, reuse it. So everything stays local.
And you know, when you get the organics out of the landfill, you get rid of all the problems that are associated
Yep.
with landfills. You get rid of the leachate because that's where all the water is in the organics, and you get rid of the methane production, so
Mhm.
that doesn't become a pain in the neck down the road. And then, you know, in addition to keeping it out of the landfill and expanding the landfill life, you produce a product that people want and need locally. So.
And we can sell it. So I think it's a
Exactly.
great, we just carry on.
Are we ahead of the curve, or does everybody do this?
Well, I mean, compare us to 49 Squares.
That's where I thought we could get some engineering advice.
No, there are very few landfills in Colorado that have active composting facilities
It sure
on
sounds
their
like the right
waste
thing to do.
campus.
It is the right thing to do. I mean, it makes sense. You get to actually use a waste product that's absolutely creating nothing but problems for us and to make something that's good.
Well,
There's-
and then you think about it from this avenue too. Our economic drivers are oil and gas, and then ag, and then the supporting industries and tourism, in that order. So the biggest problems we face in this area are wildfires and droughts. And we can mitigate the droughts by fixing our soil to properly use water. It doesn't completely take care of the drought, but when your soil's holding water properly, it works to mitigate the droughts. And so actually if we have the extension department, the weed office, and the landfill working together, we could really make a dent in water consumption and use.
Something that we may consider in the future as we kind of grow. We didn't have a whole lot of green waste come in this year. So maybe a month or two, especially in the fall or in the spring, take green waste for free, like we did last year
Oh,
for a
yeah,
month.
that's a good idea, so you can build up
So
your
we can build
stockpile.
up our stockpile, because we're running out of biosolids. The Cortez Sanitation has a new press in there.
Thanks a lot, Jim.
So we're not getting as near as much biosolids. They're doing a better job of taking care of it, so we're not getting as much, and it's drier. So I've used everything they've brought into us this year. I can't do any more compost. We built a new area. We're gonna collect it through the winter and start compost again in the spring.
Have you reached out to La Plata County to get theirs?
They actually did bring us some last year that we used, but no, I have not.
I look at that. Because that's what you need to help you with that.
It is.
So-
I'd rather do more food waste than biosolids.
Sure, and we haven't moved to the food waste yet, but
Right.
I think we have a lot of food waste here, just between the hospital, city market, Safeway. I mean, my gosh, look at what's wasted in a day, just from the local restaurants.
Yeah, well, just preliminary, yeah, the school district was all over it.
School
They
district.
wanted, yeah, they wanted to get into it. I know some of the restaurants in town already have a contract with a pig farmer, so I don't want to screw that up.
Correct, but
But the school
What they
district
don't
and
have-
some of these, just the compactor from the casino when it was open twice a week was a ton of food,
mhm,
so,
probably several tons of food.
yeah. Yep,
All right, anything
Awesome.
else?
I don't have anything.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, we got the fairgrounds, Justin McGuire's gonna
Justin's been here all morning.
And I did have to do that with the sand district,
Will you,
because you were charging me way too much money.
will you email the Zoom link to James?
Yes,
jdtrick@co.montezuma.co.us.
the Zoom link.
Oh.
All right. Well, just to start you off, attendance to date 30,720. Our income to date 48,315.90 cents.
Well, you really turned it around from March.
Yes, it's we're getting events and we're staying busy. Too busy. I ain't got time to do other things, so we're rolling. This past month we had car races, commodities, the gun show, which went really good. We also had a True Western Roundup rodeo that same weekend as the gun show. Then we had another set of car races for 2 weekends in a row, and then of course the barrel race.
Have we got any movement on the transferring the commodities to another location?
I think we left that
I mean,
with
that's a conversation
Jonathan.
for John Parker, but the other group that was going to take that over for whatever reason hit a roadblock and isn't going to be able to do that, at least in the coming year. So as of this point, that's kind of stalled.
Okay.
That's my understanding of it, yep. And then upcoming this next month, we have the high school and junior high rodeo that we're getting ready for right now. It's going to be Labor Day weekend. After that, we have a 2-day barrel, or 3-day barrel race, excuse me, September 11th to the 13th. The commodities will be on the 12th. And then we have another set of car races, September 18th and 19th. The Four States Ag Expo comes in September 25th to the 27th. And then we'll finish the month off with a 3-day car race out there at the racetrack. So we got a lot of things on the agenda coming up.
Yeah, you do.
And hopefully we can continue on for another month and in the next year. So other than that, I mean,
Well, could you go back to that shack for just a second? So did the 12 Hours of Mesa Verde, did they cancel?
They did cancel. They were set for October 3rd. From my understanding, that was in their best interest to just go ahead and cancel it from all the things that they had to go through.
Our
and their
team was going to
volunteers.
win this year too.
They said they didn't have enough time for me to do a lap this year, be in out of shape.
No.
What did it probably insurance and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to them just a little bit on it, and she said they had a board meeting, and they just kind of come to the consensus that this wasn't the year for them to do it with everything going on and with the,
Okay.
the volunteers they had and the concerns they had. And so,
Okay.
I mean, it's a big hit, but they are on for next year, the Mother's Day weekend, I believe. So
Okay.
hopefully we'll be able to continue on next year with them. Other than that, I guess I can just jump straight into the budget part, and then we can kind of go to that list I gave you guys earlier with the racetrack, and it has a little bit of stuff for the fairgrounds for maybe future reference. As far as our budget, I mean, it kind of goes if we have events, we're going to spend money. If we don't, we're not. So given what next year is going to bring us, will kind of, depend upon how much we're spending. So we're going to kind of keep everything about the same as we have. For our salaries, $63,780 is what I'm requesting for 2021. For benefits, $22,961. And of course, that's half of our salary and benefits because the other half comes out of Conservation Trust. 45,000, dropped that just a little for operating from this last year. Our telephone, $1,455. Public utilities, just keep it 50,000 because that, like I said, you know, if we have a lot of events coming in, we're going to use utilities. If we don't, we won't. So,
Which is something that we're still working on as far as that solar system out there. So hopefully that, I mean, for the first 6 years, we'll utilize it, but then it should be a reduction.
mm-hmm. And it does help. I mean, we've got a lot of the LED lights in now, so our electric bills are getting lower. I did just get done with doing rebates through Empire, through those new lights that we put up on the indoor part, and we should be getting about around $1,000 credit on those. So that'd help a little bit, help with a month's worth of expenses. But yeah, and the racetrack is one of those places, you know, LEDs and things like that can help our electrical bills over there. So certainly going down that road.
What do you think about what Eugene said about rerunning work from where is the electrical box? Is it over by the
There's a few electrical boxes over there. They have one right there behind the restrooms, and I believe that also has, I believe the one right behind the restrooms is for the pump, where we have our overhead for our water, where we fill our water trucks, and we could probably utilize that and add something onto that breaker box for like the vendors, like putting 50 amp outlets or whatever, so we can get some more vendors in there.
Yeah.
You know, 4 or 5. That way he can bring in more, the fair board can bring in more. The other one is right
Are you
on.
gonna have Larry, I mean, not Larry, but
Jerry.
Jerry look at
Yeah,
that?
that's who I'll get. That's who we go through is Jerry. So I'll have him come look at it. The other electrical panel is right on the back side of that concession stand. That runs the restrooms, concessions, you know, and then of course we got a couple out there in the infield too that's running the lights. And I know he doesn't have enough lights out there to light up that whole track. He's got, you know, the little plants sitting out there doing lights. So there's a lot that needs to be done with electrical over there. That's kind of why we were kind of.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but that was built by donation and volunteers to put all of that in, and that's why it's probably not. Because I don't think they were ever intended to run at night. They were supposed to run in the daytime. Is that correct?
That I don't know whether they were intended for day or night. I know it's under my understanding that a lot of the stuff at the fairgrounds was all built like that. You know, you had volunteers come in, and it's the same way with our outdoor arena, you know. It's only being upgraded now because when it was first established, it was all volunteer, you know, pitch in so we can get it going. So, and I believe the racetrack was kind of on those same grounds, you know, something to put in and get going. And
How come they would have ran during the day? Was that common back then?
I don't know anything about the racing world, but a lot of races are ran in the day to where they don't have to have that because of the candle power that it takes so that the corners aren't, that's something that I really don't understand, but I think that's why that was obviously one, money, 2, time, and then, so I don't know. But that's, there again, I mean, when we start looking at that, those are the questions that we have to ask is like, why don't you move them in the daytime? Because those lights are gonna be very spendy.
yeah, and see, like this year, I mean, I think we had, you know, about 23 race days. You know, 23 times that you're running the lights, you know, that adds up quite a bit. Of course, next year, I don't think he's going to go quite that many. He doesn't want to put on that many races in a year, but that's what we were looking at this year.
So we look at that as far as, so are we paying for that power?
Yes.
So through that, so the contract that we have, anyway, I'm not gonna go there, I'm just gonna say we just need to look at the contracts too, because there's some variations of changes that could be made that can make that better. Not to say that you won't have anything at night, but, you know, maybe some in the day, and I don't know because of the sun too.
Yeah.
You get your sun, you're going straight into the west, there's a certain point in time you can't do that either because of of glare.
Well, I know some of the things is if we have events going on over at the fairgrounds, you don't got the noise of the races kind of affecting what's going on over there.
During the day.
During the day, exactly. The other thing is it's cooler at night. I mean, there's no air conditioning or anything like that, and he's running summertime, so you are a little bit cooler in the evening than if you're out there at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, there again, I don't know anything about it,
Yeah.
but I know they race in Phoenix in the middle of the day.
I know
It
it.
is a lot hotter there than it
I
is
know
here.
it.
I think everywhere they race in the day.
So
I mean,
it's
if you think
it's
about
not
TV.
it's not just a nighttime sport.
No, and I think he's interested in moving some of that towards the middle of the day if he can. That's just kind of how we've had it, in the past, for my understanding, is, it's always been even and night races sort of deals, where they start at 6 or 7 in the afternoon, so.
Right, because they have light until almost 9 o'clock.
Yep. So.
Yeah, I don't know enough about that with,
No, it's something to look into. Yep, definitely. So, other than public utilities, we don't do anything for dues or training and travel anymore. And then fleet costs dropped that down to $6,000 from the $8,100 this year, which gives us a total of $189,196, which is about 7.4% less than this year's budget.
Wow.
For next year.
Nothing to add when it's cheap, when it's less. Any questions?
And then that kind of takes me into, some of the things that we might want to do next year. And if you look back at that list that I gave you for the racetrack, I did put the fairgrounds on there on some of the things that,
Yeah.
we would be interested in doing out there. Our big thing is, I know we're kind of looking at the fire suppression, so I didn't put that on there. The bathroom remodels, that's all in progress. So after that, we do need to look at that handicap lift on the inside of the building. My understanding is it does need to probably be just replaced. I think it's been looked at, but I'm not 100% on that, on whether it could be repaired fairly cheap, but I don't think it can. But we do need to look into that. My next big thing are those horse stalls that were purchased a few years back. And I know they're supposed to be portable, but that is that's not what they really are. I mean, they are portable, but they are, good couple 100 pounds apiece, and they take a, good couple people to put them all together, and it takes us like 4 days to put them things up.
I think we could research to see if a equine building is CTF eligible. We have that conservation trust fund that every year we're paying half their salaries and benefits, and other than that, it's growing and not getting spent on anything.
And
So
that
if
would
we
be a
can
good
use
idea.
it to improve the facility, we ought to use it.
I believe that's what was used to purchase the panels, was that CTF fund.
Well, then you might be onto something,
Can't we,
Shaq.
can't we
That might-
use one of those buildings there for that specifically? I think you put those equine panels into one of those buildings
So
right now.
all
But we
those
t- but we
buildings we
use
have,
them.
yeah, they are being used.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
you
all
use them
get
for other
used.
functions, and then they would be in the way.
And-
They would,
Oh,
well, they
to
would
leave
take
them
out
set
that
up.
building.
Oh,
And I
We
would
have a
think,
We would have them set up for rodeos, but then everything else, right?
And see, here's our thing, like, if we can put those portable stalls up permanent per se, then it gives us something that we can rent out, when we have these other events going on. So like, for instance, when the fair comes in, we completely take everything out of every building because they use it all for the fair. Well, that week prior, if somebody comes in and wants to board a horse, they can't because we don't have no stalls up. So if we were to put permanent or make them kind of permanent, they would always be available. The other thing is like during the fair, they have events come in like barrel races or
Yeah,
possible rodeos, and we have nowhere
I
to.
think he's just gonna have to put together a
Yep.
cost-benefit analysis for us to look at that. Because
Okay.
now you're talking a structure, I mean, you're
but that's
talking
what the
something
money that's
totally
in the
different.
CTF fund that doesn't affect county general at all is there for.
Right.
And you go to
But-
any other any other fairgrounds, and they're permanent. Go to
Basically,
Grand
yep.
Junction, go
You-
to, they're permanent.
You generally have a permanent stall set
Yes.
up, yeah, just for horses.
We're-
And we
we
don't
are the
necessarily
exception to
need to
the
go
rule.
with a building. I mean, maybe even just
Right,
some
you're
sort of an
talking just
awning.
permanent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just a permanent spot, you know, maybe put a concrete pad with some mats and an awning, so they're, you know, they're covered. But then it's something there year-round, and it can be beneficial year-round.
I think it's a good idea.
So, that's what I'm gonna look into, you know, kind of once I get a little bit of time to get into it, and that's one thing that I think needs to be done. The next big thing is the electrical over there at the poultry and goat barns, which is those two smaller little barns that we have where the three are in a line. That's where we do our RV parking. We got the RV spots that have like, you know, 30 and 50 amp hookups. Those are good. We need to do that kind of next to the poultry and the goat barn. And that's for when, you know, the fair comes in. We got people parking there. High school rodeo, they use those. We only got 20 ampers there right now, so they pop breakers all the time. And, you know, all these people that bring these RVs in, 2 air conditioners, refrigerator,
Yeah,
you
they
know,
need
things.
50.
Exactly. So we do need to look into upgrading that sometime.
I thought our plan originally, we was gonna have them look at, doing the upgraded electric, all of it. So from up there down to the.
I think if we're gonna do that, I mean, it's not just as easy as changing a breaker. It's gonna be the
Exactly.
wire in the ground that's gotta be changed. So that's a major upgrade.
It is.
And that ought to be a capital improvement
That
project.
that would have to be a capital improvement, and that's gonna be huge.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're changing everything. Your whole infrastructure has to change.
Well, we don't start.
But you can start planning it.
No,
Absolutely,
exactly.
yeah.
I mean, this is just-
and that's how we get to capital projects and get them.
And these
put
are things
together.
I'm just, you know, kind of throwing out there so
Right.
you have a general idea where I'm trying to go with this.
Mhm.
The next thing is the expansion to the beef barn, you know. If we can make that beef barn a little bit bigger, you know, we can put more events in there. We can put an indoor arena in there. It would be beneficial to the fair because they're getting more steers now that thing barely holds the steers
Yeah.
they got. So that's a thing for the future to look at. Those panels on the indoor arena, they've seen their better days. You know, they're metal posts that go into the ground, and they're getting where they're rusting out, and they're, you know, corrosion's getting to them, things like that. You know, and if you get something big hitting them, you know, one day they might break or they might fail. You know, so we do need to look into that. You know, in the future of putting new indoor panels. You know, for the arena part. The walkways around the main indoor, those are just kind of rubblish now, because before the gutters were put up on the building, you know, all the rain just kind of went down and that's where it hit. So, you know, sometime in the future we need to look at probably, you know, getting those fixed up, the sidewalks. You know, if we can do some sort of an asphalt or something around the main building in the future, that would probably be nice, especially over in the handicapped area, you know, where it makes it easy for people to go in and go out. And then irrigation, you know, if we can somehow get irrigation up there, which I know was in the plan, you know, last year a little bit. We were looking into it, but, you know, that was kind of, had some issues. But if we can get some irrigation up there someday, you know, to water our trees and things like that, and that'd be nice. So that's kind of where we're at, kind of what we're looking at.
I like all your ideas.
But-
Commissioner Candelaria gets his sales tax, and we'll be able to.
Yeah, we could do a whole lot,
Well,
man.
there's a lot of things that, and again, you know, tax is a 4-letter word, and I don't, but we have to look at it from a different perspective, and specifically for what we're taking care of with our infrastructure for road and bridge and law enforcement. So anyway, start putting it together in a plan and prioritize it and
Chip away at it.
and go from there. My next question to you is, and maybe this is a question for Mike, but they did get that hydrant out there. I did read that email, but the flow tests are
Yeah, from
horrible.
what I heard, they're like half of what they should be.
So have they gotten back to you as far as reducing the size of the system to accommodate that flow? And or what we were talking about is,
Yeah,
so apparently that line is not, it all flows off the domestic system, and it's not just for the sprinkler system.
correct.
So we have
As
to
far
also
Mhm.
prioritize that as far as getting a new line to that.
To do it right, it needs a
Standpipe.
new line, a new
Yep.
meter that just does that. And again, I think that wouldn't go into his budget. That would be a capital project.
Capital project.
Mm-hmm.
So, but are you guys are still working on that? then?
Yeah, I know Mike was kind of waiting to hear back from them to kind of see what they might have for as far as suggestions. But you know, if that needs a dedicated line, then you know
It
this
should
is all
have a
void.
dedicated line.
So if it needs a dedicated line, it should have a dedicated line. Then that's what we probably need to look at and just
Okay.
you know see about running a dedicated line straight to it. But yeah, right now it's it's half of what it's supposed to be, but the hydrant is in, and you know that's where we're standing. So
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
okay.
Alan, I want to tell you, that everybody that's been dealing with you, they say a lot of good things about you.
thank-
That you've been very
thank you.
helpful, and so we appreciate that.
Trying my best. So.
Now, this man, on the other hand,
Say what they want
how you
to.
doing, Alan?
Morning.
Morning. I sent Shaq a paper. I don't know if he's had time to get it pulled up, but roughly what we have so far, I mean, we still have a few bills out. Most of the concert stuff is in. The concert didn't go as good as we were hoping, but I think it was just because of the COVID stuff.
Very
We didn't have near the people that we did last year, so I think that was part of it. But I mean, we didn't do bad. We had budgeted a lot more money for the concert, but we went with a smaller name, so we didn't have to pay so much. And we did all right, I think. The other down there, the Derby, judges, you know, we don't have all of our stuff on there. It'll start coming up in the next couple months to, you know, we bought our buckles and ribbons and stuff out of last year's budget, so that won't reflect on this year's stuff.
Alan, is the security, was that for the concert? Is that what that is?
The concert and the Derby. They actually, donated, I guess, the sheriff's deputies, but the posse we had to pay for those two events.
And I'm bringing that up because Eugene said one of the biggest expenses that he has out there that he feels like is not needed, and this would be to Justin, is he's having to pay $40 an hour for one deputy and $20 an hour for the other, and he feels like he can self-police. My question is, do we have other events that we don't require the security, and why? If so, why do we have that with the car races and not other events? Can you enlighten us on how that works?
So the reason that we do security, from the way I understand this, is a lot of the security is, and car races was one of those things that was put in, but when you look at our policy, you know, it says security is required for these events, such as car races, you know, wrestling matches, like bull riding, you know.
Gun
things like that,
shows.
Yeah. So, the other thing is the alcohol. If you're gonna serve alcohol, then you have to have security present.
But they don't serve alcohol at the race.
No, they just do it at the concert, but they don't at the Derby. So that's where Eugene, you know, I know he was having some issues because they don't serve alcohol at the racetrack. So I know he was, you know, thought it was kind of not really needed. And I guess that can certainly be changed, you know. There are some smaller events like the barrel races and team ropings that we don't require that. I mean, it's just not really needed, I guess. So if that was to be changed, then that would need to be changed in our fairground policy, because that is what it states in our fairground policy, that you have to have security personnel during those certain events.
When was the last time you reviewed that?
I think it was under Tanner. I think that was Tanner's suggestion. My guess is it was 2015, I don't remember.
Yeah, vaguely somewhere in there, it sounds correct, yeah.
But, right, I mean, that's you all's decision. I don't remember exactly how it was proposed. My assumption is that Tanner suggested it and the commissioners agreed.
I mean, we can review anything at any time, and we probably should. Anything that's 5 years or older, we should probably take a look at.
I mean, we're gonna have
You're
to
gonna
change.
take on another full-time job reviewing everything this county has
I
5 years
didn't-
and older.
I didn't say that.
Oh, I'm sorry, I must have misheard.
I said,
We're gonna have to revise the alcohol. I mean, if we go based off of a state, instead of, county. So, because that technically says 90 days before an event, so we're
Right.
gonna have to revise that one. But, I mean, we can look at that fairgrounds policy for renting it out, if you guys, think.
so why don't you look at it and send us some recommendations, and also send us the policy so
Okay.
that we can review it, and see what we have to add to it.
Maybe we
And-
discuss it at your next presentation in a month or whatever.
Yeah, and just one, why two instead of one, or maybe that's just common that you have two,
I
in
think
case
it's-
one needs help.
It's probably, yeah, that's
Kind of like the
gonna
buddy
be-
system
yeah,
when we, okay.
Probably like 2 in, 2 out.
Yeah, I think, for us, it was 2 sheriff's deputies and then 2 posse deputies.
Correct, so.
Okay,
it's-
that makes sense.
Yeah, it's
All
gotta
right.
be,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he took care of part of it, and, I mean, this is the first year we've had to pay. We've always,
which is
Got
very minimal.
worked
$200,
around.
that's
yeah, it's
a
always
pretty smoking deal.
worked around, because
Yeah, but see, Eugene's paying $60 an hour for, I don't know when the clock starts, when they get there,
when they show up,
and then until they leave.
yes.
I believe so, yes.
So you're talking, what are those races? They're starting at 6? I mean,
Yeah,
7?
6 and goes till 9 or 10, so 3-4 hour events, yes.
So.
A couple $100.
Yeah, a couple $100.
Every race.
Yeah, but that's a business too. You have to look at it a little bit different, from a fair to a business.
And I
He's
mean,
actually running a business, so,
with the fair, I mean, with what the different venues that people are out there, I mean, it's probably a good thing that we have them, at times.
Okay.
Um,
All right, well,
Depending
we'll
on the
look
crowd
at it.
size.
I would
Yeah.
agree, I mean,
Yeah.
and that's still pretty minimal,
Yeah,
2 in,
'cause-
2 out.
I mean, I
And
could
it-
walk up, or you could walk up and tell somebody something, and you ain't nobody, you're not gonna tell me what to do.
Correct.
Those guys can,
Hey,
You
Justin,
been talking to my wife?
I am later, what do you need? Hey, Justin, how much do we charge, just day-to-day for the campsites at the fairgrounds?
For like the RV spots.
Yeah, if someone just wants to come in and
So
stay there.
if you want just an RV spot where it gives you the electrical and water hookup, then it's $20 a night for that RV spot.
Okay.
Is that comparable with?
So.
I
We
mean,
don't
that-
want to
that's a
compete with
whole-
Yeah, as
private
far as
industry. I'm
that's-
going
yeah,
somewhere
that's
else.
what I'm
with
saying.
that.
And what I think is, and I haven't looked to see what some of these campsites charge, but I think they're around the $40 to maybe $50 range, I think. I'm not 100% on that.
So shouldn't we be, at least to not be competing against them, be the same?
You got a whole different clientele. I
Well,
mean,
so the way that we work is for instance, if somebody just comes in RVs, then it's $40 a night. All right, if they come in and they are renting a stall with their RV, which is the majority of the people we get, because they're horse people, or they're needing a stall for the
Oh.
horse. So we charge 20 for the RV, and then we charge 15 per stall
Gotcha.
for the horse. So it essentially 35.
How often do we have people out there, other than when rodeos and stuff are going on? Like, say, during the week or whatever?
I mean, during the week, we generally don't see a lot of overnighters. Most weekends, though, there's
Sure.
at least, a couple here and there. And that kind of varies depending on, the weather and what else going on. But, yeah, every weekend we'll see some
'Cause they
overnighters.
You're going to feel like I'm throwing you under the bus with this next thing, but I'm just going to throw it out to the commissioners. Could we do a deal where we could charge somebody $5 a night to stay there, as long as they show proof of receipt to Justin showing that they spent at least 15 at the Legion on dinner? The American Legion, because they've been shut down by city ordinance. And they usually charge $5. Could we charge $5 as long as they show that they spend at least 15 at the Legion? to make up the 20. During if it's full for the rodeo, obviously that wouldn't apply.
I'm not.
Well, but
I'm not
I know
sure-
what he's
I'm not
trying
sure.
to do.
Well, what I'm
trying to
saying
do,
is
but-
give the Legion a hand until they can work it out with the city.
Yeah, what he's saying, because we got veterans that now can't stay there.
Call it a veteran discount.
That's what he's saying. What he's saying is that there's a problem that has arisen with the American Legion in the city, and nobody's fixing it. And so he's like, okay, we'll fix it.
Part of that discussion that you brought up last night.
Yeah, that's where he's going with it.
Give them a $15 veteran discount as long as they spend money at the Legion.
But are you
I think that's gonna be a night,
Yeah,
I
are
don't
you
know.
talking about a permanent kind of thing over at the fairgrounds? Because there's no way that I can keep,
No.
There's no sewer hookups at the fairgrounds.
Yeah, there's no sewer, and then not only that, I have
Just water
events
and
every
power,
weekend
right?
where I gotta push them out and say, hey, you guys gotta leave. So,
I
like,
think we're open, I appreciate the thought, but I think we're opening up a can of worms there that we don't wanna get involved in. We don't have the accommodations for the sewer. There's nothing there but water, right?
correct.
Water and electricity.
Yes,
Well,
if
right.
they need sewer, they have to go to town to.
Yeah, they have to-
What
Okay.
accommodations do they have right now at the Legion?
They have everything.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, I don't know.
They have a full hookup, the way I understand it, or the way I understood the meeting last night.
So I don't know.
Now I guess we can do another improvement and have a little campground site put in over there.
Well, let's just go back to the original.
Yeah, let's go back to Alan and let Alan finish.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We went way off into the
We
weeds,
did.
Alan, and I apologize. So we're coming right back to you.
Yeah, but the thing about it, I would just say that it's just self-explanatory. These guys get on their map, on their phone, and they're like, this horse has been going in that horse trailer for 6 hours or 8 hours, and I've got to locate a place to overnight my horse.
Mhm.
And that's why they're at our RV park.
And that's exactly why those horse stalls would be good, because like right now, when we got something else going on, if we got everything completely out, they can't stay over.
So do you leave them
One
set up
instance,
in one stall?
Do what?
Do you leave them set up or in one barn right now? Or?
No, right now we have 3 barns with them in there. So generally, we have those smaller barns, we'll, kind of go between the 3 of them, depending on what other event might use what barn, and we'll leave stalls put up in those. A lot of our bigger events will use most of those stalls that are up in those barns, so generally we have all 3 of those full of stalls, except for when the fair comes in, when the Ag Expo comes in,
Right,
because
then
they
you
want to
remove
use
them all.
those, yep. So.
Well, it's a good thing to cater to those people. Some of them horses are 50,000. They got a ton of money tied up in that deal.
Yes, they do.
It's the ag deal. It's part of being ag. We're ag community. You're carrying a horse through there, you got to find a place to overnight it. Or, I don't know, maybe a goat. I don't know. But anyway.
no.
Go ahead, Alan.
It is right, because at fair this year, after we had all the stuff set up at fair, we got up that one morning and went out there, and people had their horses in the swine barn, in the swine pens.
Which is already set up for.
Which was already set up for the fair.
Yep.
So, we had to
Oh.
redo everything because they had the horses in everywhere there. So, having a permanent one would probably be a little bit better.
And if they wanted to do
So-
a roping, a 2-day
Yeah.
roping, or something like that, they can rent those stalls out, make a little bit more, and, there's a place for those guys to stall their horse overnight, or rodeo, or whatever have you, barrel race, whatever.
Okay, Alan, continue.
Those are the numbers that we have together right now. Like I said, there'll be some more coming in next month, but all in all, for the year, I don't think we did too bad. It's not as good as I was hoping, but with COVID, I think we're good.
I thought it was a
2020
great.
was a unique year.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was. And so it's showing a loss of 9,400.
Yes, for the concert.
And then do we have a total?
She didn't have the total yet because we haven't got all of our
Okay.
stuff in yet. So we're still getting a few bills, but You know, the bottom page, the bottom part of that, you know, that's kind of what the Derby, what we made at the Derby, what it cost at the Derby. The judges, of course, we can't recoup any of that money. The Ranch Rodeo, that was our part for the Ranch Rodeo. The Gymkhana, you know, we lost a little there. And then the ATV Rodeo. That's all part of the stuff. I mean, it's just, we're not gonna make money on everything out there, so.
No. I think you guys, for what the year it was, you did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Fantastic,
Yeah.
to say the least.
Hopefully, we don't have to deal with this next year.
I hope not.
I have a theory about that, but I don't know if I should say it.
We've already scheduled for next year, because Justin's filling up, you know, for next year. So we got it scheduled. You know, talked to Greg and them numerous times about what CSU's thing is on it for next year. You know, if we need to try to step in, you know, to make some of these dates happen, we can. If not, we're ready to go forward for next year.
Okay, that's a good idea.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
both
you.
of you. County
And-
Attorney
and
report.
thank your whole group, Ellen.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that we've ever really stated that, but, you know, thank that whole group. Because I don't know how big of a group it is. I know the Fair Board, but I know there's, you know, thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you guys.
Yep.
County Attorney report, John Baxter.
Our health department that has the employment law case going on is, we're getting scheduled for mediation later this month for that case. Everything else is moving forward. Ms. Purcell, I'll let you know whether or not we need that affidavit for the PAX case momentarily. We did file that motion last night, but we still may want an affidavit from you. What I saw today, I don't know where exactly this Cogswell Law Office letter came from, Commissioner Sukla. It's dated June 30th, but what this is it's kind of what dovetailed off of our Kinder Morgan case. This is the CO2 committee that an attorney somewhere, I think he's in Salida or Alamosa or somewhere, represents a group of people that are making essentially the same claims that we went up to the Supreme Court on our 2007 Kinder Morgan taxes on. They made the same claims. The Supreme Court ruled for us, so for the most part, we're safe and out of the woods from there on out. As you guys recall, we do still have a pending Kinder Morgan appeal of a subsequent year that we won at BAA. They're appealing that. We've got oral arguments in October at the Court of Appeals for that. This group is a group of minority of small interest holders, basically making the same claim, but they assert that the Supreme Court did not rule on that specific issue and that we are taxing them incorrectly. We disagree with them. They filed it in federal district court. The federal district court, we got that case dismissed. They got ordered to pay us attorney fees already for it. They filed it here in Montezuma County in district court. Judge Plew ruled for us. We won here. That case got dismissed. They're appealing it. They're claiming that they're right and they're going to win, and Montezuma County is going to owe them hundreds of thousands of dollars of attorney fees. We certainly hope not. No judge has found for them yet. They're making the exact same claims that were made in the Kinder Morgan Supreme Court case. And my assumption is that Kinder Morgan's attorney rallied them to sue us to try to get traction and help them a while ago. So, you know, of course, we've been very successful so far. We're hoping that they don't win on appeal. But that's really what this letter is from their attorney to, I guess, one of the shareholders, one of the people that he represents that's involved in the suit against us.
Okay. Can I have that back?
Yeah, but I want it too.
Okay, so let's, tell you what, will you take, and Commissioner, You take
I'll get
a-
it scanned and emailed to you and I,
Okay, good enough.
and then I'll give you the hard copy back.
Okay, that'll work.
And that's all I have.
Mr. Dietrich?
Mr. Dietrich is on assignment, and he said that's gonna be at least another 40 minutes, but he doesn't have anything that can't wait till next week. So if you guys wanna give your reports and then wrap it up.
My report is 2,500 veterans in this county, and I hope that we can get the city to work something out to help out our veterans at the American Legion. That building's been there a long time, and I hope that hope the decision's not already been made, because they definitely do raise funds, and it is very beneficial to the veterans, so. That's all I have. I guess, well, the other thing is right now, we're talking about, the governor is about the different colors, and what is it called, safer at,
Stay at home, safer at home, protect your neighbor.
yeah, and then how that's gonna work to get the variances. I've talked to multiple counties, they're not gonna mess with the governor anymore. They don't care about the colors, they don't care about the variances. Number one, we're never gonna get the Ute tribe to sign ours, so why are we spending so much time on something that it's irrelevant to us? We either take charge of our own destiny, or he'll keep us shut down for the next 2 years, in my opinion. That's all I have to say.
Okay, I'll make mine quick too. One of the purchasing items that was come to the forefront now is that we only have a $5,000 limit for our administrator for approval prior to having board approval. So I would like to raise that for purchasing to 10,000, if you're okay with that. That way he can get some of the things done around here that just, $5,000 is not a big amount of money, and he has to have a little bit more discretion to take care
Okay.
of daily business. So I would move that we move the limit of 5,000 to 10,000 for purchasing to the administrator.
I think that it's a good idea, and maybe even higher. That's you all's discretion, but we ought to put just because of your fiduciary duty, in the motion, say that he reports to us at the next meeting what that was.
Okay. So I will amend that
For an
to-
amount over, sorry to interrupt you, like for an amount over $5,000, or for amount, if you make it $20,000, for any amount over $10,000, he has to report to you what he did at the next meeting. But that way, he's not held up with having to bring it to you guys first.
Correct. So the amendment would state then that he would then be responsible for bringing that to us at the next meeting of spending up to that $10,000.
Second, there's a motion and a second to raise the monies that the county administrator can spend up to $10,000 with the stipulation that he brings forth what he did with the money the next meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I also had a conversation with Mike Ellis from Shaw Solar. When we first met with Empire Electric, we had to have an 18-month period to show at the fairgrounds that we weren't exceeding that demand charge, to go from to lower that to 3-phase general power out there. So our 18 months are almost up, and we haven't exceeded anything. He's going to go ahead and pull those records again, and if we're close enough to that, when we can send that back to Empire Electric and see if we can't move forward with that.
Oh, good.
Changing that to 3-phase general.
Good.
So working on that. We did have our board-to-board meeting last night with the city council. Like we said, one of the issues that came up was the road for the airport, and we'll get our road superintendent to work on some costing for us there. And then the food items for the donation for the cleanup, that should work out real well. Had a quick meeting just prior to that meeting last night with some other commissioners in the southwest part of the state, which will report to the governor, I guess, on the 28th. of this month. But one of the biggest things that concern me is the categorization of 2 people or 2 positive tests in the same group constitutes an outbreak. And to me, that seems very minimal. So that'll be one of the
And that brings up the
questions.
question, I know that there was a positive for Macon, and they shut the Macon School District down until next week. But if it takes 2, there must be another positive, I would assume. Because with the school district shut down for 1, and it's an interesting, there was an article that, Shaq, you had an article about, it's very interesting about what you're saying, Commissioner Candelaria. There's an article, and it was last year, here it is, but this was in Mesa County. It affected 30? Maybe you can,
So this was the norovirus that was going around last year in Mesa County, and this was a virus that caused a lot of puking and diarrhea and so a lot of horrible symptoms. And this was November 21st of last year, and it says the problem, the article relates on NBC News, the problem started last week when about 30% of students and 20% of staff called in at a high school, said Emily Shokley, a spokeswoman for the district. The outbreak seemed to be contained just to that one high school, which has about 1,050 students. So 1,050 times 0.33 gives you 346 students had this virus that had them, vomiting and diarrhea out of both ends for, several days at a time. And it wasn't until they had several hundred before they closed the school down.
so that's to your point.
So back to my point of the request for the state, that's going to be one of them, is to relook at that. The other one, which I found out we are very fortunate here in Montezuma County because we have the Abbott test and the BD Max, which I need to get a cost from you, what that actually costed. Not just our portion of it. I think we were close to $100,000.
Our portion?
No, our portion was $36,000, but the whole cost of the entire
Okay.
machine. That's one of the issues, is that like Gunnison, Montrose has some testing, but San Miguel County, Dolores County, a lot of these people don't have that rapid testing capability that we have here. So that's one of the requests that's going to be made from the state, is to get, they want all this stuff, and if 2 positive tests are an outbreak, we need to have the rapid test, and they need to be here now. So that was
So
part of a longer.
Yeah, on that 2 person, so it wouldn't matter if it was a public school that had 10 students, or if it was a public school that had 1,000?
It's
Is it the
just
numbers 2?
2.
And that shows you how ridiculous this is.
Which,
They're not using a percentage of students.
yeah, they're just using a number. So that'll be a conversation in our 28th meeting with the state.
Do they though dictate to the school districts when to close
I
down?
don't,
I think
I
it's the
don't
school
know.
districts that make
The
their own
school districts may
decisions.
make their own decisions. I'm just saying what it is as far as for what it's being reported to us for the county, for the public health department. Some of the trends that we're seeing, and this was reported by all of the counties on the call last night, they want to start looking at their forecast for their economics, the real estate sales right now. And I haven't talked to any realtors around here lately, but our real estate is moving. It's moving upward. The trend is moving there because people are getting out of the cities, the larger cities, the metropolitan areas, and they're coming to the rural and urban areas, which is going to increase growth here. And we have to start looking at that and planning for that also. So pretty interesting that we're all feeling that, or we're going to start seeing that growth in the next couple of years. And that is all that I have.
Recommendations on
I move
Public comment?
I move we adjourn. I don't see any other public.
It's on the agenda.
Oh.
Public comment, seeing
Jack
none.
should've moved
We've
it.
got a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Second, excuse me. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.